Welcome back to another episode of Volumn in Spanish. Thank you for tuning in. Today, I'm joined by my co-host Matt, and we have a guest. I'm going to introduce him. I'm just going to read off the phone real quick. HGTV star, featured in many publications and magazines across New Jersey and probably the East Coast. $150 million in sales for 2022. A business partner of mine. One of my best friends, known him for a decade, Taylor Lucyk, ladies and gentlemen.
That is such an amazing intro.
You like that?
Yeah, it's the nicest thing you probably ever said.
Really?
Introduced like that every time.
That was good, yeah.
Outside of blowing you up on social media, that's the nicest thing.
This was live, right? Like this is gonna
This is recording.
All right, awesome. Because I'm gonna listen to that a couple times.
It's the real deal.
We're gonna cut that into a YouTube video.
That's the promo. It's just you saying that, nothing else.
Oh God! No, I wrote that down. That's there's credentials there that I think need to be acknowledged and spoken about. You're a humble guy, and off scenes we talk a lot of shit. But I think for anybody who doesn't know you, maybe explain to them, or maybe I'll give you guys a little bit of backstory. So again, Taylor is a real estate agent here in New Jersey, East Coast, and he's leading, I would say, the industry from my eyes. Outside looking in, you're young and you're absolutely killing it, bro. But tell the people just a little bit more about why real estate. Kind of like how did you just why real estate, bro? Why are you a realtor, really? That just what is it about homes that draws you?
Yeah, no, it's kind of an interesting story. So as you know, we were once upon a time in a marketing company together.
Yep.
And
that's how we met. Yeah, we'll get into that afterwards.
That's a backstory.
Yeah.
I was in college. I took an entrepreneurship class, and in school I had a friend named Klaus.
Yep.
And
I know Klaus.
You know Klaus.
Shout out to Klaus.
The world doesn't know Klaus. Hopefully Klaus watches this one day. And we're sitting there, and we were thinking of ways to make money. Like, what were we going to do to be successful? What were we going to do to think outside the box? And he said, let's flip properties.
So it was Klaus's idea.
It was Klaus's idea.
Really?
Yep.
And this is post, so backstory real quick is we met through a past business venture, network marketing, and
yep.
We tried a couple different actual projects and ventures out, so we've been, I met you when I was 19, and you were probably like 21 or something.
Yeah. 21,
and so whatever, those things kind of worked, didn't work, whatever. Fast forward a couple of years, you're in class with Klaus.
And he's like, let's flip homes. And at that time, HGTV was like, the thing, right?
Yeah.
It was flip or flop. All those shows were out. Yep. And, not knowing anything, being a young kid, not having any money, thought it was the best idea in the whole world. Yeah, let's flip some houses. And I trusted Klaus that he was going to be the guy to help renovate, and he had all the connections. And so he's like, well, let's get our real estate license, because if we get our real estate license, we're going to have access to properties that aren't on the market. And once again, not knowing anything, I'm like,
it was for flipping. I remember it wasn't even about being a realtor.
It was nothing to do with selling houses.
Flip homes.
It was solely to find properties that we could buy and rehab.
You guys approached me too. I remember actually.
Yes.
You guys because we all worked together. Like we had this little circle, this community of people that we knew, and we were all like minded. And I remember any idea that anybody thought of was like, yo guys, let's do this together. And you guys were like, yo Allan, I think we should sell real estate. And I just think it wasn't for me, and
Well, that's after. That's after I already had my license. This is before I had my license.
So okay, keep going though.
So I'm like, yeah, great idea. So whatever, we go to school together, small school in Ohokis. I don't even know if it's there anymore. We get our license, and as we're finishing up the school, we have, in real estate, once you have your license, you have to hang it with a brokerage.
Right.
You can't just keep that.
You have
license.
to join a company.
Correct, because that's basically the hub.
That's mandatory, or is that you just normally do it?
No, it's mandatory.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
insurance policies, everything else.
Oh, wow.
You can't just go sell real estate by yourself.
You
can't.
well,
know that.
Could you?
You have to have a broker's license. If you have a broker's license,
okay.
you can. But you can't get your broker's license till after a certain amount of years in the business, and a certain amount of experience.
Gotcha.
So as a brand new agent, a salesperson, you have to hang your license with another broker.
Right.
So at that time, we didn't know anybody in real estate. So I don't come from a family of realtors. I don't come from friends that were realtors. Klaus was the only person that I knew, and we both knew nothing, getting into the business. So ironically, based on the past thing that Allan and I did, which was a company called VEMMA, which was network marketing.
Vitamins, essential minerals, mangosteen, aloe vera is the acronym.
Still on the money. Basically, Matt, if you don't know.
I know.
So you do
Were
know.
you ever pitched?
I have. That's a whole backstory.
Did
not
Allan pitch you?
No.
Did I
pitched
none
Raph.
of you guys.
I pitched Raph.
You pitched
If
Raph.
you listen to the last, the first episode, he talks about that's how I met Raph. I met him trying to,
You met Rafi through VEMMA?
my cousin was friends with him.
Wow.
He was never in it, but I did like a little small
That's
presentation
crazy.
in my cousin's house, and I met him once. That's
Wow.
it. And fast forward, the next time I saw him was when me, and John went to Ventanas for his birthday.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
That's irrelevant though. But anyways,
Whatever. Point of the story. So was network marketing, right? Why is that relevant to real estate and what I did? Basically, you're building a business within a business, right? You're building a network of people buying product. So at the time, there still exists. There's a company called Keller Williams, and Keller Williams' compensation plan is very, very similar to network marketing, right? You have the ability to recruit other agents into the business. You build, a certain amount of a pipeline, and then you get what they call profit sharing, right? You get a percentage of what the grand total, commission pool may be.
you have to sell enough real estate to qualify into that too. But
I won't get into the whole nitty gritty of it. To be honest, I'm not the best one to speak on it. I don't work for
shout out to KW. They're a client of mine. I actually know some of the people up there, and the profit sharing program is something they push for sure.
So when I was getting in, that was probably one of the most appealing companies because I was familiar with it. I said, wow, this is exactly what I was doing, but it's with real estate. That's interesting. So that was actually when we were finishing up school, the company I was going to join.
Really?
But
I actually didn't even know this.
yeah, not many people actually know this story. So I remember Klaus got me this little book, and I was reading it. I was like, wow, it's
Klaus, bro.
It was called The Millionaire Real Estate Agent by Gary Keller. He's the guy that owns Keller Williams. I can't believe I'm even on a podcast speaking about another company right now. But I literally was reading this book, and I was sold. I'm like, this is definitely where I'm going. And at the time, I was working at Lifetime Fitness. It's a big gym in Bergen County. And I ran the front desk. So I would open the gym at 4 a.m. And one of the girls that worked in the spa, which was right by the front desk, knew I was getting my real estate license because I was so excited. I was trying something new. I was going to get out of this place. I was going to do all these big things.
Got big dreams.
Big dreams. And she's like, my brother is runs a real estate office in Paramus. You should really meet him. And I was like, okay, tell me a little bit about it. And then when she told me what he was doing, a light bulb went off my head. So what he was doing was he was buying and selling properties. So he was going every single Friday to the Bergen County Sheriff's Office, and they were buying 2 to 3 houses a week, if not more, and they were rehabbing those homes. So right there, I already interviewed with Keller Williams, which I thought I was sold, right? I was just finishing my schooling. I'm like, wow, this is really what I got into real estate for. Why am I going back to something that I obviously wasn't that successful at in the long term?
So it was within the real estate industry, obviously there's different paths and avenues that you can make a name or a career out of.
Right.
And the one was familiar, which was KW, because it had the same format.
Right.
And then this guy had what you originally wanted to do with real estate.
Yep. So, having the license, right? Knowing where to hang it's important. So weighing out my options. And when I looked at both, I said, Klaus, I think this is the better move for us, right? It was a small shop. There was 16, 17 agents. It was very boutique-y. And I had this feeling, that gut feeling when I sat down with them. I said, I feel like I'm going to learn more from here. I feel like I'm going to pull more from here compared to that corporate vibe, that much bigger office feel. I said, this is where I want to be. And I decided to hang my license there. And looking back on it, it was the best decision I ever made. And it's going to sound so freaking crazy that I'm going to say this. That company had so little structure that I had to figure everything out myself.
Oh, wow.
So I didn't know that going in. The gentleman who ran the office, he was super hands-on in a lot of ways, but his focus was really on his own business, meaning buying and selling houses.
Yeah.
The real estate was secondary. So I found myself at the time wanting just to learn. So what I would do is when he would buy a house, I would pretty much manage everything for him. So I would say, hey, I'll, do from the whatever it may be, permits with the house, CO with the house, making sure the house got ready, make sure the house got cleaned up, getting it ready for the market, doing the open house, finding the buyer, running the deal, managing the deal. And I was making fractions of what he was making. So in real estate, it's pretty customary, we'll say, to make anywhere between, let's say 2 to 3% on one side of a transaction. So if you're representing a seller, you could expect to make anywhere from 2% to 3%. If you're just representing one side of the deal, not representing a buyer. Yep. So I was getting, simple numbers. If you're doing $500,000-$600,000 houses, normally you're making $10,000 to $15,000. If I was lucky, I was making $1,500.
Right.
But I didn't care because I was learning.
You're still getting something out of it too.
And I mean, and quite honestly, at 24 years old, $1,500 was a lot of money. I mean, for a lot of people, $1,500 is still a lot of money.
Yeah.
So, but I just did that. I just grinded, and I was like, I'm gonna ride this guy's coattails. I'm like, I'm gonna learn everything about this business from this guy, and that's what I did. But the best part about it was I never ended up buying and selling homes myself. I ended up falling in love, to your original question, like why real estate. I found the love for just the whole process of selling, right? I felt like I was back in that sales role. Something that, looking outside in, I thought was so boring was just so intriguing. Like meeting people, the whole process, and then I realized like the decision for someone to buy a house, it's the most expensive thing somebody may ever buy in their lives. And because of that, you're also compensated so greatly for it. So I found just this absolute passion for it. And, fast forward now, I mean, it's much more escalated in a lot more things, but
your structure is
completely
what you've created is honestly, it's really cool. It's, it's something like, again, that's worth noting. It started with you and Klaus. It started with wanting to flip. You guys even tried selling my house, I remember.
Yeah. Yeah.
My mom was
Yeah.
yeah. And what's funny was like you guys were new, so it's just like
There's this weird thing, like when you want to buy and sell houses, you need something called money. So we didn't have that.
Yeah.
So that whole thing never really worked out.
What about now? Like, is that still an interest or no?
Yeah, no, I mean, on the side, I mean, I'm not very public about it. I don't mind speaking about it in the podcast. I said to myself coming on here, I wanted to be like vocal about things. I wanted to answer questions. I have got involved in multiple opportunities before, small development deals, meaning just like fix and flips, like small rehabs. We've done a few new constructions. I'm currently involved in a building in Jersey City with one of my partners. So yeah, we've done some really cool like personal investment stuff on the real estate ends of things.
And now that you've done both, which do you like better?
I still love selling houses. I
Yeah.
would never stop selling houses.
Yeah.
Yeah, really, for me, the investment side of things, which I will continue to do.
Right.
I also own a lot of multifamily properties, which are like holds, a couple 4 families.
You just bought a home.
Just bought a home.
Like an investment property. We did a video on
Did a
that.
video on it. Yep.
You could find that video on Taylor's YouTube channel.
Yes. But yeah, no, I mean, that's kind of like the plug and play, like, sideline stuff, retirement plan stuff, but real estate's like where I find my passion. It's where I find my growth. It's where my goals are. Like it's not that exciting. Like buying a multifamily house, it's like, it's cool when you do it, but then after a while you're like, all right, now it's got to maintain this thing.
Right.
So it's the same thing with even fixing and flipping houses. It's like, once it's done, it's done. There's no,
You know what's funny is when I was, I think I was like probably, I was in college, probably like 20, 21. I think you guys were doing the real estate stuff. And then I think, or maybe it was I don't remember exactly when, but it was right around that era, like when you guys were starting up. I actually worked for a lady who flipped homes for a living.
I remember this.
Yeah.
She was in Montclair. No.
Yeah. Her office was in Montclair, and she did, Montclair is what, Essex County?
Yeah.
So it was like that whole, I mean, she did multiple counties, but it was
you would manage the property. Like you would drive and you would see if the properties were abandoned,
Right.
or you'd go in.
Yep.
That's so funny.
Yeah,
That's kind of what I was doing.
Yeah.
For the guy that ran.
Right.
So like scouting.
No, and she gave me the same proposal. Like,
Yep.
I mean, they all think the same, right? It's
the same thing.
It's
So I forgot you did that.
yeah, because I was after the whole network marketing thing. It was like I was so accustomed now to a life of sales, and I was so accustomed to just like being able to just like talk my way into things and just be like, look, like this is creating value or pitching. And so this lady, I don't even remember how I stumbled into that job. It was like one of the craziest things ever, but like it was like there was big money on the table. Like it was like, okay, like she was like, you'll make maybe $1,000, $2,000 or whatever, like $1,000 off of things that we flip and whatever. And I was like, that sounds amazing. Like I don't think I've ever made $2,000. And so
That's exactly how I felt.
I was like, I'll do it. I have my grandma's car. I got my license, and I got some free time out of college that I can drive around. So
$12 an hour at the gym, $1,500 to roam this house.
So I was in Montclair State going to school, and her office wasn't too far from there. And I remember she would send me out. And like it was intense. Like she had a whole Excel sheet, and it was like, okay, like go visit these properties, take pictures, look at them, look at the meters, see how many houses or how many family unit this thing is. And I would just like I was like the errand boy. I was just running errands for her or whatever. And I think I only made like one check one time, and it was for like maybe $500. And I was so turned off because I was like, just like, nah, I'm spending $500 in gas. Like this,
welcome to real estate.
this isn't
Constantly
working.
Spending more money on gas.
This isn't working. Just, I mean, that opportunity with her. And then, you know, what's kind of fucked up is my car actually broke down and from driving so much. When it did break down, I remember I had texted her and like the group that I was in, and I was like, hey guys, like, you know, this happened to me, whatever, you know, as soon as I get the car repaired, like, you know, whatever, I'll make my way to these properties. I'll figure it out. I'll let you guys, you know, whatever. Bro, I don't even think anybody texted me back. Like, it was just like,
They didn't care about you.
yeah, they didn't give a fuck.
Welcome to real estate.
Yeah, nobody cared. It was very cruel. It was mean.
Super cruel business.
It was so cruel.
Yeah, feelings, bro?
Yeah.
Back then?
That I did. No, I did.
Back feelings.
Yeah, you know, I was before, you know, I'm not a cold person, but like, you know, before business me, you know, business me.
Right.
But like me as a whole, like, yeah, like I was just like, damn, like it turned me off. And I was like, yo, fuck these people. I'm going to go make it in this media business. And so I was trying to make that money to support this fucking stuff. And so whatever. So that's the only taste that I have of real estate outside of working with you and, you know, obviously other realtors. But I wanted to ask, you know, obviously, you have a lot of things going on for yourself. I want like the deets, bro. What is the biggest check you've ever made in real estate? Like, is it a 6-figure check? Is it a 5-figure check? You know, like what's the biggest one to date?
It was 6 figures.
It was 6 figures?
6 figures.
You've made, okay.
On a sales.
How much?
Wow.
How much? I mean, if you don't want to share.
I mean, it was around 150,000.
150,000? Okay. How does that feel?
We got him.
It was crazy.
We got him. Clip that.
No, it honestly, it's super surreal. And I don't know how to describe it more than, and that's not that crazy to come think about. I've seen some deals where
you make
millions on a commission check, depending on the size of the deal. But I remember there was definitely a point. I feel like for a lot of people, they starting off in anything you're doing, right? A lot of people use like $100,000 as a benchmark, right? They want to make $100,000 a year. It's like a benchmark for a lot of people. And when you make that plus some or surplus some
in one check,
you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
I mean, that's years in the business, and it was a very, very large sale.
What year was that in for you? Like, was it third year, fourth year?
No, it was like 6th year.
Sixth year?
6th year, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And obviously that's a commission off of a home that you sold.
A sale, yeah.
How much was that property?
It was around $7 million.
$7 million.
All in, yeah.
So it takes selling a $7 million property to net about $150K in commission.
Yeah.
Okay. And what about like your first like big check of, you know, like it could be whatever, like, you know, like I can relate in the sense of like, you know, I haven't made it like a 6-figure check as far as like, you know, one-time transaction, but I've definitely had like big deals where like, you know, it, like you said, it's surreal in the sense of like, you know, people make this in, you know, whatever time frame. And so for you, what do you think is a moment when you were like, you know, it doesn't matter, whether it's $5 grand, 10 grand, 25 grand, like just that little threshold where you were like you were happy and you were like, you made it, like you felt accomplished. Like you were, this is so crazy.
Like the first thing ever, you mean?
No. Like, you know, the first check could have been whatever. Cause obviously the pay structure is a little bit different, but that, like, let's say you're averaging, I don't know, 2 5 grand checks, right? Like you're making $5,000 every now and then. Cause you know, it's depending on how you perform.
No, honestly, the most surreal thing to me ever was the first time I made a $10,000 check.
Yeah.
To me, that was
You know
crazy.
what? Me too.
That was crazy. And yes, as you know, whatever, and get to a certain income bracket, like there's always
it's
steps.
relative because now you're like the thrill that you had for making that 10 grand. It's not that it's not like, okay, like 10 grand is still 10 grand, but
but that was crazy to me. Like that was super crazy.
It's just not as crazy anymore.
No, it's not.
It's not as crazy.
No.
Which sounds kind of like messed up, but like it's
well, it's not that it's messed up. It's really that you once you have a lot more on your plate and there's a lot more expenses coming in, things going out. It's just different, right? You don't really look at it the same way because a lot of it's like working capital and stuff like that. So
that's true. That's true.
But yeah, no, that was probably like the first time I was.
So that first 10 grand check, what was it for?
I sold a house in Palisades Park. It was basically a townhouse. We call them duplexes. It was a one-side house.
Did you know you were gonna make 10 grand off of that?
Well, yeah, because when you're involved in a deal or a contract, whether you're representing a buyer or a seller, you have a certain agreed upon percentage commission. So based on the sales price, you know what it's going to be. But then there's other things that you have to consider too, right? Like a lot of people maybe watching this channel don't understand how commissions work, and you watch a lot of these shows, and whether it's $1 million listing or what you're watching, and it's show on the screen like, Ryan Serhant's set to make $180,000 on this deal, and you're like, oh my god. But I mean, now Ryan Serhant, obviously, Ryan Serhant has his own brokerage, and he probably controls everything himself. He definitely controls everything himself. But you have splits with the brokerage, you have insurance. If there's things that are involved that you don't keep.
It takes money to make money. You have to spend money to make money.
Yeah, but I mean, the whole commission isn't yours. Essentially, if you work for a brokerage, they're taking a percentage of that.
Yeah.
And it varies from brokerage to brokerage and compensation plan, but.
Right. I was gonna ask you with that money, right? Was that year 1, year 2, year 3?
You're saying the $10,000?
Yeah, the $10,000 check.
That was probably a little bit over a year in the business.
Year in business. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And
like that.
So when you were starting out, and did you go in head first full time into the how did you make that work? Because obviously it's performance based, and so you don't receive your money till a couple weeks, months later. I don't know what the exact is, but maybe you can tell me what, you sell a home today, right? Let's just say today. You probably sold a home today, but if you sold a home today,
we actually did.
You sell a home today. When do you see that money?
Well, essentially, the day the property closes, 99.9% of the time, the title company cuts the check that day.
Okay.
But as we've been kind of talking a little bit, that check's not paid to you; it's paid to your brokerage. So basically, that check then gets processed to the brokerage, and the brokerage has 10 days to pay you. So worst case
So it's
scenario,
pretty quick.
Yeah, worst case scenario, if you actually give your check in on time, you'll get paid within.
So it's
10 days.
bi-weekly almost.
Yeah,
Like,
but it's not. You get paid in batches. Sometimes we'll have 3, 4, 5 closings a week or whatever it may be. We take them all. They deposit them, and then
You'll just wait to get all of them.
we wait to get an email that says you've been paid.
That's not bad.
It's not terrible.
Yeah.
About to switch careers, bro.
You own some property, right? Your family owns some
My
property.
family does, yeah. That was my, I guess, come up. But I was more of the maintenance, growing up. My father owns a couple properties in Berrien County.
Oh, right, nice.
Paramus to be exact.
That's right.
Well, that's where I live. That's where I live now.
We live on the same block.
You guys live on the
It's
same street.
It's a very long block.
It's a very,
Well, we can't disclose that block, but you've probably seen me cutting grass.
Very secret block. It may or may not be named after the town.
Yeah.
the exact address is.
Nah, but yeah, I guess I seen not the struggle, but just I guess the hand in hand of what it takes to get a loan, to have someone vouch for you, or the mortgage, just some stuff in particular about my dad coming up, he didn't have on paper, I guess, perhaps he wasn't making that much, but he could through cash and all that. So it's it just really depends who's vouching for him, and I guess the brokerage or whoever it was is took a risk on him. I was all right, here you go. Cool. So and that's he got started with one. I think we used our first house for leverage to get the second house, and then so on and so on.
That's awesome.
Pretty much, yeah. So that's the most as far as dealing with paperwork, I don't know any of that, but I know what it takes
it's not as crazy.
Yeah. So that's really just the most experience I'm dealing with. Yeah, cool. I've dealt with.
It's property maintenance stuff.
Property maintenance, and then most of that, and just finding good tenants. That's about it. Yeah, another thing. Make sure most of the tenants we've had have been there 5-10 years for the most part. So
wow.
I think I do a good job on that, at least finding good tenants.
Yeah, you can find my tenants over 10 years.
Cut the check, maybe.
It's a long time.
Yeah.
Start a property management company on the side, just slow.
Big business.
It is a big business.
Don't laugh at that.
No. It's I saw actually somebody today on my Instagram talking about that. They started because it's. I was talking to your brother Dylan, and he was saying just some of the properties you guys own is not that you guys have been having problems, but it's there's definitely
there's always problems.
Yeah?
He's lying. There's always problems. There's constant. Whether it's when you own multifamily too, right? Hey, if anybody out there you're looking to buy a house, anyone tells you it's easy, it's definitely not. A house has so many different if you have a property with multiple tenants, right? Do they get along? Does this person play music in the middle of the night?
Exactly.
Is this person loud? Does this person have a child?
Pets.
Does this person have a dog?
Yeah.
If it's stacked apartments, one on top of the other, maybe they're walking, but it sounds like they're jumping, right? Or, you lose power, or you lose heat, or there's a pipe that burst, or there's you have to do, whether it's pest control, whether it's, rodent control, things like that, landscaping, snow removal, big storms, like all these things that come into play. And when someone's renting, they don't want to do anything.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
They're like, oh, you're the landlord, you're responsible for that.
That is true.
So, because you feel like it's like a hotel. It's like,
But
I don't own this
that's not
place.
always true because I guess it depends. Is it?
It depends on the tenant.
Yeah.
Right.
This is not categorizing every single tenant.
Yeah.
I was a tenant at one point. You guys sure? Everyone was tenants at one point.
Yeah.
It depends on your level of care or respect. Some people are the easiest people. They're very handy. They'll fix things themselves.
Yeah.
They won't bother you. They won't say anything, and then they'll tell you at the end, and then you get the apartment back, and it's beautiful. Other people, the smallest little things.
Literally,
It's a big deal.
they're bugging
That
you
is
like
true.
that minute. Like right now, I could get a text like my dad's out of town, and right now I could get a text and it's like, oh, the heat's not working or whatever, and like I have to go,
And we've
Or-
we've dealt with that
yeah.
in the middle of the night.
What would you say is like either like the most common problem or just like the biggest problem or that that reoccurs, where like because there's things that like whatever like you could for the most part, let's say something is broken, obviously you can go fix it yourself or you can have somebody else go fix it, right? Like it's a phone call away in a way, right? I'm not saying like I'm not trying to oversimplify it, but what's like something that's like hard that's like holy shit, like this is really gonna take time out of your day and it's gonna require some thought and like you got to solve it.
I mean, for me, the worst thing I ever had to deal with was an eviction for a tenant. Personally, that was the worst experience I ever had to deal with. Meaning I had somebody that wasn't paying. That was a huge problem. The other tenants weren't happy with the individual. And it cost us a lot of money to get the person out. It costs a lot of energy and time.
You don't make money on that either. Like it's like
No.
they
No, it's
like
the-
if
it's
they
the reverse.
no. I'm saying like
Lose money.
no, like if
waste
you
of time.
Yeah.
I had to go to court for my dad.
You make money on those evictions. No.
no, I'm saying like if you if like you stop paying your rent for 3 months, for example, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing legally binding that says because you have like you sign.
Oh no, you could, yes, of course, you could bring the person to court. You could put a judgment against them. You could demand rent payments. But honestly, when you're going through that, and normally, in my experience, being in the business, helping other people manage properties, right, filling units, managing units, like doing the whole thing. If somebody stops paying multiple times, they're usually just a problem to begin with, right? 99% of the time, you just want them out. Because you almost hope they don't give you the money back because you're like, I don't want to deal with this again.
Yeah.
Right? Because sometimes that happens. Like someone's 2-3 months behind on their rent, and then you send them a court notice to pay, and then they decide to do it because they don't want to be on the street or they don't want to find another apartment. But then they're going to do it to you again, and then they can keep curing that. So you almost rather just be done with that and fill it with a brand new tenant. So it's difficult too because sometimes if somebody stops paying or they're not a great tenant, it's hard for them to find another place too because a lot of people might not want to take them.
I guess it depends too on their situation, right? I mean, like, it's like,
It's all
if somebody
situational.
loses their job, then they can't pay it, then like they're kind of effed, right? And then it's like that becomes sort of that tenant owner relationship is kind of like how you deal with it. Obviously, if you have somebody who's intentionally not paying, but they can't afford to pay it, that's a different problem, I would say.
There's so many different.
I've dealt with the tenants that like legit like they got sick like bad for like a month and like they really couldn't afford like the next like all right we'll waive the
Like
we'll waive the late fee this month, but like obviously just like every other
You
month.
still
but-
owe us money, but it's
Yeah.
just when you
And-
can, please pay.
and again it's
type of
like,
thing.
Obviously, like if you're just depending on your rent to pay the mortgage, that becomes an issue too.
My question is like, okay, like if you have that scenario and you're halfway through a yearly lease, there's 6 months worth of payments, you evict the person out 2-3 months later. Are you guys collecting those 6 months? Is that not worth collecting? I don't know. I don't like own property like that to speak on behalf of that.
Well, it's tough. I mean, like I said, it depends on the situation. To Matt's point, it's like if you have somebody in the property maybe that fell sick or they lost their job or something, but they've been with you for 3-4 years and they've been paying. You don't. I mean, I have a big heart. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people have big hearts.
Yeah.
You don't want to take the person out and kick them on the street.
of
And there's also a lot of programs that
But
exist.
like that,
But there's also like what I would do as a landlord, or what I suggest my clients to do if situations like that do happen.
Yeah.
There really are a lot of amazing programs that are offered to people that are on, whether it's disability or whether it's things, all these housing programs that do exist, people for them to get on and kind of stabilize it and put them back on their feet and essentially make it okay with you. But there's stuff that exists out there.
so how many properties do you own? I know you have a couple. I haven't kept count.
Well, the one, not including like ones that we bought and sold, just like things that we're actually holding right now. Not unit count, just total properties, 5.
5 properties.
Yeah.
Like multifamilies or
everything's multifamily.
everything multifamily.
Well, I have a personal residence, so that's 6 with that. So that doesn't count. But
right. No, but, so I guess
counts,
5 investment properties that
Yes.
like generate money.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
and your goal is like what? Like buy one a year, right? I know you've spoken about that. Like
Yeah, buy one a year. My ultimate goal is by 40 to have like 25 properties. A certain amount. I have a unit count in mind and a certain margin I look to make, but yeah.
When do you think you'll hit that?
40.
oh, you're saying 20. I thought you meant like a range of numbers.
No, I want to try to accumulate 25 properties by like 41, 42 range. I need like another 10 years. So I'm trying to escalate. So to do the math, I'm just going to I'm trying to do 2 a year at this point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Damn. That's crazy.
We'll see how we
That's
go.
crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy to know like where we started and where we are and where we're going, you know, talking about that network marketing company. It's
I love that network marketing company.
oh, me too.
I don't care.
I will fight on behalf of that company till this day.
Me too.
I don't care. I will not accept any slander,
Zero.
any just like just
It was the world's greatest opportunity.
you know, it changed my life. It honest to God changed my life.
It honestly changed a lot of people's lives.
Changed my life.
You know what it did? It changed everyone's mindset. That's the thing. It literally took everyone to a place that they didn't know existed. It was like we went to Narnia. So we went to Narnia. That's where we
The
went.
business Narnia.
Business Narnia.
Yeah. I want to talk about that really quickly, right? So I remember I was like 19 and
I love how this podcast has been everything almost but real estate.
we're getting to the real estate stuff. I think it's
Real
very
estate
important.
problems. Well,
No, you know,
landlord
'cause
problems.
from an outside looking in, it's like, what's our current? So we have. I think you and me have a very. I don't know if the word dynamic or specific relationship is like, because I think we wear many hats, and I think we have many different types of relationships, which I think people either don't know or don't see.
Yep.
Like there is you and me as friends, which is how it's kind of, I guess, started, right? Acquaintances or whatever. And then it was sort of like we were colleagues for the company because we were working for that company and, you know, doing sales and stuff. And then we were trying to start up a couple businesses together. And now we actually own a business together. And now I handle essentially your content creation.
Yep.
And so it's like, does it ever feel weird? You know, just like, you know, like,
No.
do you ever think about
You
that?
ever get tired of Allan?
No.
Yeah.
Yes. No, but I kind of feel that way with a lot of I'm in business with my family. Like my brother works with me, my
Right.
sister works with me now.
Does that ever? So I guess that's the question that I'm getting
That
to. Right?
dynamic can be really difficult.
The family
and
one.
not only that, like friends, like Paul, who you know, he's on my team.
Right.
Paul was like a really close friend of mine
Yep.
before in the business. Tim, who now works for me, although met him in the business, was a photographer, became one of my best friends in the business. But these people were friends and family before business, right? So unfortunately, when you're working, you know, at least in my world, right, when things have to get done, things have to get done.
Yeah.
So, and you have to have tough conversations with your friends and your family, which isn't easy because maybe your sister, your brother that's grown up for you for the last 30 years, right? They don't see you as that person. Or maybe they respect you as that person in the business, but they still don't want to be talked to that way.
Right.
Right? Because they're used to being talked to.
It's a gray area because it's like, how do you handle this? You know.
Yeah, but I'd go right forward.
No, I know you do.
No, I tell them, I said, with all love, like this is what we have to do right
That's
now.
the way.
No, I agree. I agree. You know, it's part of being an owner in business, part of being a leader, just part of trying to progress, move forward, and you know, people look upon that, and when people are not performing or people are just not doing what they're supposed to be doing,
Sure.
not in like a, you know, boss way, like, you know, but it's just like people are relying on this. Like we all need to be doing this so that we can, you know, move forward.
No, that's definitely, and honestly, that's a tip for the audience. If you, I don't care what business you're in. It could be real estate. It could be you're starting a restaurant. It doesn't matter. I find that a lot of people, and you'll find this in a lot of business relationships, and probably you as well, people get into business with their friends and family.
in the beginning.
Yes. Why do you think that is?
Because that's a great question. Family,
They want the leniency.
Because people feel like their friends and family are loyal, right? And they feel like this person, and we grew up together, we're loyal. Like there's familiarity there. There's synergy there. There's pre-existing. So that to them is important. But what ends up happening a lot of the times is like, you know, you'll see a lot of those partnerships dissolve because usually one person's going one way and one person's going the other. But even when you're with friends and family, it is really hard to have serious conversations with them when it comes down to business. Like, for example, like Ryan, who you know, right? He just wanted to join TLG and making like outbound.
He's been doing stuff with you guys.
He started outbound sales calls, and I said to him, like, I gave him a call on the side. I said, Ryan, like, you know, you lived in my house at one point. Like, I've known you since I was 15 years old.
Right.
I said, I need you to do me a huge favor. Forget everything you think you know about this business, and forget everything you think you know about me. When we're working, we're working. Yeah. And that's that. I said, you know,
it's a switch.
It's a switch. I need you committed, and I need you 100% focused, and I need you to understand that you're a representation of me and you're a representation of everything that I'm doing. So I expect that you go out there and act accordingly to that. And he respected it. But you have to be able to have that conversation. So my advice to the audience is, if you're watching this, especially if you're brand new, whatever you're doing, and you're going to hire a friend or family, it's important to have that dialogue up front, because you will notice it's very, very difficult to talk to friends and family about things that you don't want to talk to them about. But sometimes you just have to. That's just part of growing a business.
That's true. I think, but you know what too, though, it's it doesn't work for everybody, because there's people who will tell you like, like never go into business with your family and friends, and then there's people who can make it work. And obviously it's situational, but I think like that aspect of being able to just like light switch it, like, all right, like turn it on, turn it off. Like when we're working, we're working. When we're not, we're not. Like, we could talk about this when we're, going out or whatever, or hanging out. And when we're in the workplace, or we're, at, meeting, a deal, a presentation, whatever, like it just, not everybody can do that. Not everybody can sort of, and then I think that's where problems stem, as far as like just those relationships clashes, and then just, because
it doesn't necessarily have to be like light switch on and off, though. It doesn't have to be like 1 minute you're like, oh
yeah, you don't need
like it doesn't have to be like, oh, we're friends, oh, now we're business.
Right.
But it has to almost has to be, though, like no matter how you communicate, the important thing is just communicate, right? Because everyone has a different style of communicating. Like some people could be more like aggressive. Like I can kind of come off like very like dominant, aggressive. Like other people can come off very like just timid, or whatever, and other people just they're chatty, they're talk, whatever it may be. But as long as you're just communicating to the person that like, hey, this is how I'm feeling, or this is how things have to be. It doesn't really matter how you're doing it. It just matters that you're doing it.
Right.
I think that's what's important.
Yeah. No, that's true. Speaking of like relationships and stuff like that, I feel like every time I feel like your team is growing.
Yeah.
Every time I talk to you, there's always something new going on, which is good. What, like you guys, like I said in the intro, you guys just did $150 million, right? 149 and like change. It's basically 150 millions, right? Yeah. We're gonna round that up. Now, that if I was a teacher, I'm rounding that number up. All right.
We round up.
What's that feel like? Like that's, there's a lot of work. I mean, obviously, like I said, we work pretty daily, right, with each other, but like I only see one side of, Taylor, one side of the business. I don't see everything else that's happening, at the office, everything that's happening at these home inspections, everything that's happening at these open houses. Like, what is that? Like, what does it take to get to those numbers, those levels? Like,
It really, well, first of all, I
that's a loaded question, but
it's definitely a loaded question, because I think it depends on first, whether you're a realtor or you're just maybe have no idea what that means.
Right.
Meaning production numbers. It depends on where your market is, where you're working. We're in North Jersey. Thankfully, this is a great real estate market. Is it one of the best? No. Mm-hmm. Parts of South Florida, LA, New York City. Like our average sales price is like $925,000. So that means we had to sell about 150 houses to hit that number.
Did you guys sell 150?
Yeah, that's about what we did. Yeah.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously some of our sales are less. Some of our sales are 400. Some of our sales are 3 million. 4 million. It just depends, right? But it all averages out. The median average, I think ours was
comes right shy of $1 million.
Right shy of $1 million
for a property
for my group.
Right.
But if you look around, like even the top teams in New Jersey, like myself, they're not much more or less. You'll see like 1.2, 1.3, but you're not seeing people with average sales prices of $5 million
right.
or $4 million, because that product is less active in our market.
Yeah.
Why is that important, and where am I getting at? To do the numbers that we did in this market, at least, it requires a lot of structure, and it requires like the right setup, and it requires the right maintenance, and it requires the right people, more than anything else. But as we're growing and as we're expanding, that's why we're looking into additional markets. That's why we're looking into different strategies and stuff, or things that we're trying to do, whether digitally or in person, right? To just break into higher sales prices and do more stuff. And it's difficult. It's hard. Yeah. because to your point, right? Like, how do you feel when we did 150? I think the year before we did like 120, and we made that whole vlog on this, right? The struggles of scalability. I think growing from 120 to 150 for me wasn't great. I mean, for a lot of people, they would think that's really great, but for me, that wasn't great. You know, how do we get to that $200 million mark? How do we get to that, you know, $500 million mark? How do we get to that $1 billion mark? And it all comes down to structure. It all comes down to scaling. And you know.
Do you know your lifetime sales?
I haven't been
Even if it's just like an average or round number, it doesn't need to be exact.
You know what's funny? I really should know that like this because I'm a super numbers guy.
Yeah.
We're probably just around like probably close to $400 million in lifetime sales within like. So like for me, I haven't had the group that long. You know, we started the group in 2020. So this is, you know,
year 3 starting.
Correct. So it hasn't really, 2020 was year 1, 2021 was year 2, 2022 was year 3.
Okay.
So this is going on year 4
Yeah,
now.
true.
Oh, wow.
So I was a single agent for all the time before that. So, you know, as you have a team, your numbers grow. They should grow if you have a team. If you have more people working with you, your numbers should be larger. So, I mean, our goal this year is just to crack 200 million. And then following that, we have some like bigger goals to set some stuff. But in our market where we are, it is a very hard accomplishment to do that, and it requires like a very, very specific structure and very, very specific, you know, sales price average and other things.
What do you think the New Jersey market, like, is there a cap? Is there like let's say you guys do 200, right? Which I'm sure you guys will. If it's not this year, next year, I hope.
No, it'll definitely be this year.
All right, I like that. I like the confidence.
No, it will be.
Okay, good. So when you guys hit 200, right? Like, you know, again, not to ask you that what's next question, because we literally did a video on that. It's not so much what's next for you, but like, I guess as a market as a whole, right? Remove Taylor out of the equation. Just talk about real estate. And let's just talk about, you know, it's like, what's, you know, without assuming that, you know, you're a monopoly and like you sell every single home in New Jersey.
Yeah.
What's not, I don't want to say realistic, but like what like, at what point is it like you just can't go higher? Like, is it 400 million, 500 million?
No, it's not so much that. It's almost, it's penetration, right? It's meaning like how much of a market can you grasp, right? Like every market does have a cap, to your question.
Right.
So what does that mean, right? So let's use like Paramus, for example, right?
Right.
Paramus, I think last year was about a $230 million market or $220 million.
So that would be the cap.
So that means that's how much houses sell in that one market. Now, if you're a realtor and you're grabbing 20% of a market share or 30% of a market share, that's a lot. That's a lot if you do that. I mean, are there realtors that do more? Have I seen agents crack 50%? Yeah, but that's like a super rarity. It's very, very hard. So
Where have
Is
you
there
seen
no
that?
limit to like?
there's
how
no, it's not a limit thing. It's just
just
more,
how-
yeah, it's just historically that's really the threshold, right? Meaning if
Getting
you're
to 20
you're not
of
going to
them-
be on the side of
Yeah.
every single sale.
course,
On a buy.
yeah.
It's physically impossible.
Right. There's too many homes that are happening.
Right. So it becomes difficult to your question because let's say like if you notice, right, in real estate, people that are very, very successful generally are very, very successful in a couple few markets, right?
That's true. You're a local expert.
Yes.
Like this person's known for this town, that person's known for this town, that person.
100%.
Yeah.
So how could you be the local expert in like 50 towns?
That's the challenge.
That's the challenge. So that's why we're having a team and getting people self-sufficient.
Is that your guys' structure?
It is our structure, actually.
So it's like
where we're heading.
you're gonna do this, he's gonna do this,
Yes.
she's gonna do this part, and so slowly taking 10% or 20% or whatever it is out of
Correct.
all of these towns
Correct.
is how you're cracking these big numbers.
Correct. That's the only way
That's
to do
dude.
it.
That's a
Yeah.
formula for success, bro.
That's the only way to do it. And honestly, like if you in a lot of our vlogs, people probably blow past it, but I actually made a vlog about it. We were joking. You made that replica of me, like how do you multiply yourself, right? And remember,
Oh,
I
yeah,
walked you
yeah,
through-
yeah, yeah.
And I talked about that a little bit. And I guess maybe some people really don't grasp that idea, but it really is a numbers game. It really is. You have to recognize that. Yeah, as much as you want to be like the bird that can keep flying till it just doesn't matter. It does. There is a ceiling in certain areas, and you have to acknowledge like. Not give up or not say to yourself that something's not possible, but you have to notice that like there is a certain percentage, and if you could achieve that percentage, you did really, really well. Everything above that's even better. But now you have to focus on like, all right, like even if I jump up 5%, if you put all my eggs in this basket and I could jump up 5-10% in this market, but how much really was that?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's like for Paramus, if you're capturing, let's say 20%, right? And that's like, I don't know, $45 million in real estate. Okay, great. If I capture another 5%, oh, fantastic. I did another 10 million. But if I can go capture another 10% in a $200 million market, I did 20 million.
Right.
You know, so you have to start asking yourself, like, where does it make sense to start spreading and branding myself now?
Right.
Because,
if I already have,
because I've already capitalized.
I already have all
Do
this.
you ever think about competition in those towns? Like obviously some certain towns have more competition than others, right?
Yeah, competition is actually really good. I think it really is. I think competition gives the consumer options and it creates the differences, right? So for me, something that I instill in my team 100% every single time we meet with a buyer or seller is we don't talk badly about anybody else. I never do. I just really talk about the what I think I offer and the differences that I offer to the market in general, right? I know what I'm really, really strong at, and I live and die by that. So why is that important? Consumers want options, right? Imagine there was only one place you can go buy a burger.
Right.
You wouldn't be too happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, if
Right?
you're on there
Eventually
all
you
the
get tired
time.
of it
You
too.
get tired of it.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with a realtor. That's the same thing with any business, right? People want options. So, you know, if this person's doing, 2 to 3 sales in the, whatever, I don't know, I'm probably going off on a tangent, but if there's 20 houses, which there's a lot more, but if there's 20 houses for sale, person A is not getting 20 houses for sale. They're probably going to get 2 or 3 or 4, right? The other consumers aren't going to get along with person A. They're going to want person B. So I think competition is good because it kind of opens up channels for you to grab other market share.
But like I guess that makes a lot of sense. But I'm talking about like when you guys, I'm assuming you guys aren't just like picking towns out of a hat, right? Like, hey, let's go dominate this market. You're looking at that market and is it worth capitalizing?
I can tell you exactly what I do, like exactly how I look at it.
Please.
How I look at it is, the bigger number picture. So if it's like, all right, we want to do, for example, $200 million in sales. We know what our average sales price is, right? I also know roundabout what my agents, meaning who works with me, not what their ceiling is, but what I think they're capable
of producing. It's that like how many balls can you juggle in the air?
Based on so many things: motivation, experience, what their branding plan looks like, what their marketing plan looks like, right? So where I'm getting at is like when we decide like where we want to market or where we want to spend money, or whether it's on buyer lead generation, seller lead generation, whatever it may be, it is very systematic because like I'm going to say to myself, why am I personally like, does it make sense for me, to that same analogy, because to break into any market long term, it really does take like 3 to 5 years.
Okay.
Solid marketing, like over and over and
You
over.
can't just decide tomorrow I'm going to start selling in this town.
You could.
But you won't see like significant results till a couple years down the road.
Yeah, and that's being very consistent and very constant. It's not like you don't have the ability to sell.
You might sell a couple homes in that town, but that doesn't make you.
It's how do you get the customer?
Right.
How do you get the client?
Well, so that's always a question I have, right? With like when you get to like, certain price range of homes, right? Obviously, we do these luxury tours, right? And we have all sorts of $1 million homes that we've walked through, like, and obviously you're a realtor, but like, I'm not a realtor and, I create content and I feel like I spend more time in other people's homes than I do in my own,
Me too.
and it's like, I think to myself, when I see some of these homes, I'm like, this is amazing, right? And we'll do the tour and it's like, okay, great. This is $5 million. This is $7 million. This is $3 million or whatever. The question, or not even the question, the fascination that I always have is like, okay, you have $3 million properties for sale, right? You're representing them, representing the seller.
How did you get them?
No, it's not even so much how did you get them. I think like to a certain extent, like I feel like I would like. I mean, I like sales, so like if I dedicate myself to real estate, I would probably do okay.
Yep.
And I just think like it's not so much that I would be able to sell it, but part of that selling is obviously getting somebody to buy it, right? So my question or my fascination is, where do you find the people that buy these homes? Because you can come in and you could say like, all right, like, look, I'm going to take photos. I'm going to make a video. I'm going to do this Matterport. I'm going to do the floor plans. I'm going to show up every single Saturday and Sunday and every single week whenever anybody wants to do a private showing, right? Obviously, the second half to that is somebody else can bring in a buyer. Great. I know that part. But let's say someone is not bringing in a buyer. You have that listing. That person is counting on you to sell that home. Where do you just go to find somebody that has $3 million or $7 million or $10 million to buy a home?
Yeah, good question. I mean, honestly, with us being in the digital era,
right.
There's so many, the public housing web, there's so many websites and so many outlets for these houses to be on right today that buyers are already accustomed to. So like Zillow, Realtor.com, a lot of these like major hub websites, they're kind of doing some of the front load work for you already, because if somebody is looking for a property, $3-4 million, a lot of it's self-search, right? So they might be doing self-search all on their own.
They already wanted to buy something like that.
Because they may know, and I'm not saying this is the marketing plan, I'm just saying in general,
no,
answer your question, is, if they already have a budget in mind. So if they're looking in New Jersey and they're like, my budget's $3 to $4 million, they're presetting filters on ZillowRealtor.com. So as soon as you're listing that house, you're hitting that population of people that you didn't have that, let's just say it's arm's reach, right? You didn't have that arm's reach to, because you're leveraging another platform to get to that person. Right. So that's honestly probably the most common thing is you're out on so many different websites. You're publicizing the listing on so many different places. It's living on so many different websites that somebody's coming across that listing based on something that they're interested in already, whether it's price point, whether it's town, whether it's style, whatever it may be. But some of the more unique properties, to your point, right? There's some very, very ultra specific properties that are priced very high, maybe for the market, or very, very custom. It's not for every single buyer. That's where experience matters, right? That's where you have to come up with very unique marketing plans. How are you going to expose that property? Because sellers, if they're retaining you and hiring you to sell a home of a certain caliber, there is a very high expectation of what they expect from you, right? Meaning what they want you to do to sell that house, because there is a lot of money on the line. It's a lot of money on the line for them, and you're getting paid a lot of money to sell that house. So really, they do expect your experience level to say like, okay, like what are you doing besides just listing this house on the multiple listing service and letting it go to all the websites? But what's next?
Right. That's essentially like, because
and it's custom tailored to every single house. Some houses need a lot more than others do. I mean, but once again, I think what we're doing right now is collaborating, right? We're collaborating off both of our experiences, our networks, everything. It's actually the same thing with housing, meaning like, who do I collaborate with to get this in the eyes of somebody else? Can I collaborate with the New York Times? Can I collaborate with the New York Post?
There's always like almost exposure, right? It's like, let's talk about the house. Let's get it out there more. Let's show it to people. Is it ever like, are you calling people and like, hey, you have to come check out this thing like that? Yeah. Like that's some of the work that happens behind the scenes.
Oh yeah, especially our big communities like our townhouse communities like in Montvale and Hallworth that you've been in multiple times. Yeah, I mean I'm calling brokers and I'm pushing them to go over there, right? Because there is a lot of townhouse options. So for example, like let's say there's an agent that's in Ridgewood, right? They might not consider Montvale as a town that they're going to bring their buyers to, because they're so focused on that one area that they might find that Montvale's not as nice or doesn't have the same attributes that this other town. So what am I doing? I'm pulling them over there. I'm saying like, hey, do me a favor, come check out this listing. I have 35 of them, I have 65 of them, whatever it may be, townhouse community. Come check this out, because I believe whether you have a client today or don't, I want you to think of me next time you sell a house.
Right.
And you say, this person says to you like, hey, agent A, I want to sell my house and find a townhouse. I want you to think about this community. So that's almost like that. To your point, is that call, that hardcore marketing, that that preset experience to try to get somebody out there. But yeah, we do that as well on single family houses. I mean, broker events, broker collaboration stuff
on all scales. It doesn't have to be the luxury market. It could be whatever. And wouldn't it just be nice too, like for your job, right? It's like, hey, so and so, we have this for listing, check it out. And like people were open-minded to being like, yeah, like let me go check it out. Because I feel like a lot of people are very like selective, which I get, whether it's for time or purposes or whatever, where it's like, like I'm just not going to go to that town, or I'm just not going to go check it out.
Yeah, that is a struggle sometimes. I mean, but you'll see a lot of brokers will have like events, right? You'll see a lot of stuff on TV. People have big parties.
Yeah.
It's all incentivized to like,
what can I do
get
to
traction?
More traffic? But I think it's really important. I think besides the whole like smoke show and everything that you're seeing online is really driving the right people, right? Like over the years, I've noticed it's less about how many people, it's more about the right people.
Right.
It's about getting the right feet through the door. It's about getting the right exposure through the door, because you could just waste a whole lot of time and a whole lot of money just creating this fake facade that really doesn't do anything, right? And to your point, like you might, I get called all the time to go to events and networking stuff, and sometimes I respectfully decline only because like my efforts really need to be elsewhere.
Right.
But if it's somebody that I value, if it's an agent or a friend in the business that I value, maybe do I see that is a waste of time? Maybe, but it's not to me because I value that person. So I'll go for that person. But if it's just something to go and it's just to have drinks or food, for me, it's like, hey man, I wish I could see if somebody from my team could make it, but either maybe I'm not even in that market, right? If it's maybe it's like more South Jersey or like Central Jersey, like I might not even be there. Like I'm realistically, I don't service or don't have buyers for that market. So I would be wasting your time and my time. So it's more about like respectful, like, hey, I wish I could, but
you're not bringing any value.
And that's happened to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've had communities or sales, and I don't know what it is. Like sellers, when they get to a certain price point, believe that like the New York City buyer or the Hudson County buyer is going to be the one that buys it. So what do they want you to do? right?
Getting
Everyone
you
thinks
people from there.
they want you to. How are you going to get people from there here? It's like, oh, good luck. I'm going to go get somebody from a New York City agent to come check out this house. Like, no, that's not happening. Like, they're not crossing the bridge and paying. That's all. But that's the same. It's funny. Like even Hudson County. Like, good luck getting a Hoboken agent. Like I'm from Hoboken, born and raised. Like, good luck getting a Hoboken agent to come to like a Bergen County, property. They're just gonna be like, no, man. Like I don't work there.
Yeah.
So there's that struggle too a little bit.
Yeah. That's how do you deal with I don't know, maybe it's just a stigma or maybe it's just like a stereotype, but it's like, same thing, right? Once you start getting into like $1 million properties, it's like, and I've ran into my fair share of people as well. It's like, I feel like people are, I don't want to say they're different and not necessarily for the worse or for the better, but I think people I think there's crazy people, there's crazy people at all income levels and people have all crazy like home prices as well. But so I guess it doesn't even really matter about the luxury side. It's just like, how do you personally deal with some of these crazy clients, whether they're setting crazy expectations or deadlines and stuff? Do you even take those jobs? Like if somebody says like, hey, sell me this house tomorrow, and you're like, well, I mean.
So it's funny you say that. And I think this is actually really important in any service-based industry, right? It's not always crazy. Crazy is a very broad word.
Right.
Some people are very specific.
Picky.
Okay.
Picky. They want something done a certain way. So my temperature gauge is respect, right? There's a line of respect for both of us, right? And if you cross that line, it's not based on your expectation. Meaning, I would never respectfully decline a listing that I wanted or that I wanted to service or work on, that if a seller said to me, I need you here for every showing. I would not decline that. I would understand that. I would say, no problem, because I'm taking that job based on that.
Right.
But if somebody's calling me, cursing at me, or creating like negative environments to my agents, or just basically any sort of communication that I feel is like incredibly negative, or they're taking shots, or then there's a line, right? Then at that point, then that's just crazy, to your point. Like certain people just don't
irrational,
right? And I've had that situation. I feel like anyone in the service business has had that situation.
What's one scenario that's happened something like that?
I mean, there's so many.
You don't have to say the person's name or whatever, but
there's so many. I mean, one that I remember very vividly.
That just went down south, where you were like, no, we're gonna just pull this.
No, I'll tell you. It's actually a funny story. I mean, I could probably talk about it. I don't think I've ever made a video about this or talked about this. I'm not gonna say where it was or who the person was.
We have Mary from down the street.
Yeah, no, I was very, very young in my career. I was probably in the business at that point for like 2 years. There was a property that was in the market. It was listed by owner, meaning for sale by owner.
So you were also what, like 24? 25?
At this point, I was probably like 25, 26.
Okay.
I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, roughly. Mid-20s.
Yeah, I was at my other company still, my first company I was at. And I saw this property come on. And then at that point, I was very active on trying to go after for sale by owners, meaning people that were selling houses by themselves. I was trying to engage with them to convince them to list it with me and put it on the open market with the realtor. Ironically, I through a friend knew the owner. So the owner said, I'm going to put a good word in for you. You can meet the owner. So I met them. I put a lot of legwork in front to get the listing, did a lot for them. And we ended up getting the listing. And at the time, I actually had to co-list a property with my boss that I worked for no other reason than that the friend that was also a mutual friend of my boss that knew them, it was kind of like it was going to become a shared listing, which I was fine with. Didn't matter. Going into now looking back on it, going into the listing with my boss meant I was going to do everything.
Right.
So I was handling everything. So the market wasn't where it was 2020 or I'm sorry 2020 late 2020 like COVID market. Like the market was
like
very,
2018 market.
Yeah. This house was a really actually for the area really beautiful house, but it had a lot of things that deterred people from buying it, and I could tell you what they were. Number one, there was a freight line that ran behind the house. Meaning there was an active train that would go by, which nobody wants a train running behind their residential house, and it backed up to Route 80. So you had highway traffic noise and you had a train.
So great home, bad location.
Yes, and then to make it even a little bit harder, for the price point, the house was larger. So like when we're comping out houses for sale, when we're looking at things, sometimes it gets tricky, right? Because you would think new is better. Right? Mm-hmm. New is not always better. Sometimes it is in some situations, but that doesn't always mean it is. Sometimes new could be smaller. Sometimes new could be cheaper, right? Meaning like less better quality or whatever it could be. Right. So this house was a custom built house. So for that market, there were newer houses, slightly smaller, but newer, that had finished basements. This house didn't have a finished basement. So I'm dealing with three. So I'm dealing with three things. I'm dealing with the price point that's a upper price point for that area, and I'm dealing with two major,
What's upper
internal
price point?
and for that area, I mean, at that time, this house is probably worth a lot more now. But I think back, actually, I remember exactly. We were listed at $710,000 on that house,
And that's high.
At that time.
I'll tell you where the area. It was in Saddlebrook.
Okay.
So for Saddlebrook,
Oh, that's high.
Yeah,
And that's
we're
high?
talking,
And that's
we're talking
high?
like 26.
That's
17.
high.
Bro,
Oh,
my
yeah.
dad just bought a house in Silverback for like $700,000.
Yeah, but now today that house honestly is probably worth nines
Ah.
today.
insane.
But this was back then. The market wasn't as good. So we list the house, and we told them from the very, very beginning that we were probably like 20,000 too high, or maybe even 30,000 too high. But they didn't want to hear that. That's okay. We took the job, and we just had a very, very interesting series of events that happened, from when we listed it to getting an offer right away, to that person changing their mind in attorney review. So we lost an offer right away, which they were super disappointed about. I was disappointed
Damn.
about.
What happened there?
We ended up basically going. I don't remember. The person they just decided not to buy the house.
Got it.
They got buyer's remorse. They changed their mind.
Okay.
So that was deal one that went south. The next deal that came into contract. So that was at our full price offer. I think it was at like 710 at the time. The next offer came in. I think we did it at 700. We actually went into contract with this person. Went into contract with them. Went through the attorney review process. Went through the inspections. We ended up arguing and killing, like basically ultimately killing the deal over an above ground pool, not an in ground pool, an above ground pool, because I'm not going to tell the whole story. I guess I don't want to disclose it, but there was a permitting issue with the pool, and the buyer wanted the pool.
For above ground?
There was an above ground pool on the property, and for the town code, you had to have certain permitting to have that pool, which at the time we did not. So the buyer wanted it to remain. The seller refused to do what they wanted to do for it. So the seller ultimately decided to take the pool down.
Wow.
And it turned into a very big dispute and ended up killing the deal, unfortunately.
And that's what I mean, though. It's like situations like this where you're like
Out of your control.
outside looking in. I mean, obviously, I know you're doing the best job possible, right? And whoever you're working with for it. But I just think to myself, like, it's one of those things where, like, we're just talking on a money deal, right? Where it's like you're talking about, I don't know, $10, $100, $10,000, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
It's like when people say, like, you're really going to kill this deal over like this much amount. And it's almost like you hit them with the, are you? And then it's like both people say, yeah, fuck it.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
That's actually exactly
and
what
it's like, but like you guys were so close. Like
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
like bridging
we
that
did-
gap was there.
Yeah, and I'm only giving you half the die. I mean, we put a lot of effort to keep that thing together. I mean, we offered stuff, we did stuff. It just didn't work. I mean, there was just two personality types that didn't get along. Perfect.
Do you think that's
So-
ego at that point when
Yes,
something like that
yes.
happens?
Oh, wow.
Oh, most certainly.
Where it's just like, oh, I'm not going to do this for this person or whatever.
Definitely.
Yeah?
That's
And
exactly
you're just stuck in the middle.
and sometimes that happens, and there's nothing you can do about that. It is what it is. So that one dies, and then the next deal comes in.
I couldn't deal with stuff like that.
Yeah, we end up going into a signed offer with them. So once again we start the attorney review process, but then my client had seller's remorse and changed their mind.
So she never ended up selling?
So they got very aggravated. They were just disappointed at that point in the pricing that they were at, because they at that point they didn't want to accept that was actually the market value for the house, and we weren't that far off from the price. And although they decided that they were going to sell it, they changed their mind 2 days later. So they basically did what the first person did, meaning the buyer got changed their mind. Now they got seller's remorse and they changed their mind.
Right.
So why is all this important? And to your initial point, with crazy people, not that I'm not going to call them crazy, but there's that level of respect where you start,
Yeah, I mean, look, they're going to do what they're going to do with their home. It's their home, right? So it's just like
so
you.
I at the time, I mean, I was young in the career. I mean, that was a big sale for me.
How do you think you would have dealt with that differently now? Would you think like you did everything?
Well, I could tell you exactly. That actually changed. Where the ending of the story is important because it actually changed how I did things moving forward. And it's to me it was like just a shifting point because I lost trust in people after this. Actually, lost trust in not having a process in place because I was too trustworthy of people. And so basically, where am I getting at with the story? Is I remember where I was. I got a phone call from them that they said to me that they wanted to take the house off the market, that they didn't want to sell the house anymore. And I said, and I knew, like, I in my heart and in my gut, I felt like, well, this has a lot to do with all these things that just happened. There was a lot of negative experiences that all
External
occurred.
events that whether they were in your control or not, it happened anyways.
It happened. We were
and
part
it
of it.
changes the
Sure.
because it's an experience at the end of the day. You're selling or buying something like that. It's
Definitely, 100%.
So okay, keep going.
So I remember virtually being on the phone with the one seller, he was very disappointed and he wanted to take the home off the market. And in real estate, when somebody wants to take the home off the market, there's options, right? So if I'm selling your house, we have a contract in place of an agreement that I'm the only person that is allowed to sell your house, right? Our brokerage, our firm is the company that could sell your home. It's called an exclusive right to sell.
Yep. So
that's the agreement we had. That's as an agent, that's the agreement.
Is that the usual agreement?
That's 99% of the time.
Okay.
It's like a 6 month or 1 year.
6 month, 1 year, whatever, and that means that during that time, we are the only company that could sell your house, no matter what. We're owed a commission if that house sells. Okay. We have the exclusive right to sell your home.
Yeah.
So he wanted out of the whole contract altogether.
And this was how many months in?
Maybe 3.
Out of
the maybe we were 50%.
The contract was in place.
Oh, it was in place.
Oh, okay.
So you have options, right? You have something called a conditional withdrawal, meaning I'm withdrawing your home with conditions meaning like certain stipulations. So stipulations could be as followed. I'll take the home off the market, but you're still not allowed to list it with another realtor till my agreement expires. Or I'll take your home off the market, but there's these specific people, these buyers that are in place that if they buy the house, we're still owed a commission.
Right. So there's like a list. There's all these
exceptions.
things.
There's a lot of.
I feel like you might have told me this story, but like not in this depth.
Yeah. So basically, I remember exactly what the guy said to me. He wanted an unconditional withdrawal, which meant at the time that he wanted completely out, no ties attached to me or the brokerage, that he wanted out of the contract and he could do as what he chose. And he was he was yelling at me, cursing at me on the phone. And I was young, and I never had a client speak to me the way he was speaking to me. I'm not even telling you what he said. It was just really bad. And I was like, I didn't know what to do. So I called my boss. I'm like, what do I do? And my boss was at the time super hot. And he's like, what about the fucking contract? Like, who cares about this guy? And I was like, but I'm thinking to myself, like, I was like business savvy. I'm like, no, I put a lot of effort into this house. I shown this house. I spent
Can't just
money.
let it go.
I don't want to just let this go. And like, this guy could just do whatever he wants. So I was like, I told him, I was like, well, I would prefer to give you the conditional withdrawal with some exceptions. And his exact words to me were, why? It's not like you brought me that many offers and I'm going to forget the people that you brought through the house. That's exactly what he said to me.
Wow, what an asshole.
It's a true story. True story. So I said, wow. that was like a shot in my
dark
ego.
side of
It's
real
a shot
estate.
in my ego. I was like, oh my God.
Damn, dude.
So I was like, all right. So I don't know. I was young and I was stupid and I said,
You
okay.
agreed to it.
I agreed to it. It's a true story.
Ultimate
Then,
regret.
here's the kicker.
Oh, this is the kicker.
Oh.
This is the kicker.
Oh.
So I'm sitting this is maybe 30 days pass by, 60 days pass by. It's like the ex-girlfriend you broke up with that you don't care about anymore. I mean, you're not worried about this house, right?
Yeah.
It's not.
You forgot about it.
Forgot about this house completely. And the house isn't on the market either. It's nowhere, right? I don't even, it's not on the MLS. It's not for sale by owner. It's nowhere. My phone rings. So to your point with your dad, part of buying, most of the time if you're buying with a mortgage, part of the process is an appraisal. And what an appraisal is a third-party independent company that comes and puts an evaluation on the property, right? Why is any of this important? The appraisal always calls the real estate agent, and the appraiser generally gets the contact information for the realtor to schedule the appraisal, whether it's from the contract, from the lender, or from the MLS. So the appraisal calls me from an expired listing. He didn't see it in the system that I was taken off. So he called me thinking I was still representing the house.
Wow.
So I field the call from the appraiser on the house. And I'm like, whoa.
That was an interception right there.
So I'm like, whoa. So I'm like, I'm gonna take this opportunity to find out what's going on, right? I'm gonna now, like, I'm thinking to myself, like, I'm gonna play stupid. So I said, okay, no problem. When do you want to come? He gives me the date and time. I probably shouldn't even be saying this.
You're gonna get people in trouble.
You know what, whatever. Am I gonna find at this point? Who cares? So I said to him, hey, sorry, I have so many, like, I don't remember. I said, I have so many files on my desk. Who was the buyer? What was the agent's name? Who was the buyer's agent? Did you contact them? And he reads off the agent, and I'm like, motherfucker. It's one of the deals that we had in contract with him. So I'm like, no way. So I'm like, all right, perfect storyline opportunity now to call this guy and like be really mad, right?
Yeah.
So basically I scheduled the appraisal for him. I said, okay, whatever. It was like Tuesday at 1:00, whatever it was. So I was really mad. I was like, wow, like exactly what I thought could happen just happened. I'm like, well, how did this just happen? And it wasn't even like he sold. Like if he sold it to somebody I didn't know, I wouldn't have cared. But it was somebody literally that was on the contract. So now
like you're getting backstabbed essentially.
And now I did the math. I'm like, wow, like he ended up selling it to him because he basically foregoed our commission, only had to pay one side of the commission. Now the numbers made sense for him. That's why he sold it. So I'm like, wow. So first of all, the realtor, shame on the realtor for doing that behind my back.
And suggesting that because that person probably didn't even know.
Basically, when they came off the market, he probably definitely contacted the owner directly. And
it was like a situation where it's like, hey, listen, your home is, 7:30, but at the end of the day, maybe you'll fucking sell for.
Did the realtor do anything wrong? No, because it was withdrawn unconditionally. So, but in the world of respect, yeah, that's a slap in the face.
Yeah.
So whatever, business is business. So I remember thinking of what I wanted to say to this guy, but at this point, there's nothing I can do because it didn't matter because I gave him that unconditional withdrawal. So there's
part responsibility for allowing that, but
it was my fault. I made a mistake.
I would say, yeah, sure, okay.
I did because now in my career, I would never do that again. Never.
Somebody says that today to you and says, "Hey, I want what?" Like it's just
there's an exception list. I'll do it because I would never tie somebody to an agreement that they didn't want to be in because I would never want to work with somebody that didn't want to work with me.
Okay.
Very simple. I'm not that kind of way. But what I'm saying is I also wouldn't devalue all the time and effort I put into a listing or put the time I put into a listing because nobody would like to service something and not see something out of it. So what I would respectfully say to somebody that wanted that is like, I have no problem because people sometimes want to take their home off the market for genuine reasons. Right. Right. Mm-hmm. Well, let's finish the story and we'll jump into that. Yeah. But where the story leads is I said there was a lot of things that I wanted to do or wanted to say, but I said, you know what? I'm only going to get one phone call to this guy ever again. And I got to make sure this goes right. Right? Because this is my last thing I'm ever going to say to this guy. So I called him up.
This is some classic Taylor shit, by the way. If you don't know Taylor, like off business, like he's a very strategical person with like doing stuff like this.
So I called him up. I said, Mr. Seller, it's Taylor. He said, yep. He said, how are you? I said, good. I said, I'm calling you for 2 reasons. He said, which are? I said, number 1, your appraisal is scheduled for this date and this time. I said, number 2, I guess that list was too long because you forgot the name of the person that was on it that ended up buying your house. And he went silent. I said, thanks for doing that to me. Have a great day.
Wow.
And it felt good, actually, because I was like, he was so bad. He was so nasty to me. So, like, the stuff he said, and I never forget, like, what, the list is that long that I'm going to forget the person? I'm like, well, you clearly did. Like, you clearly did, seller.
Yeah.
So, that was like a young experience that, like, and I've had crazier stories, but that was like a changing moment for me.
Yeah.
Because I realized at that time, it's like, there is a high emphasis of importance on doing things the right way.
Yeah.
And really not just letting somebody take advantage of you because you're young, you don't know what you're doing, that you're afraid to put your foot down, you're afraid to have a conversation. And where we were getting at before we segued back to the conversation is there are people that want to take their homes off for genuine reasons, right? Like
things change.
That's in the family, time of year, anything, right? There's things, and that's fine. But people that are taking their home off the market to retain another agent, I would also probably, depending on the situation, consider, but I would build in exceptions to protect myself. Right? The people that have been in that house, the marketing that I've spent, the showings that we've had, we need to protect ourselves because we've spent all this time. It's like, it's not fair to me that now maybe you'll go with a different broker or go with a different situation and go for a totally different price that now makes sense. But I wasn't able to accomplish that because I was set to fail because of whatever. Yeah. Right. So yeah, that was just like a turning experience for me that that honestly I said to myself, like, I'm never going to let somebody do this to me again. But looking back on it, thank God it was a $700,000 sale, not a $7 million sale, right? Yeah. So that's the.
What's the commission lost on that?
I mean, I don't remember back then. It was probably something. I mean, remember I was splitting it with somebody else. I was probably lost like $7 to $10 grand.
It's still a good amount of money.
It's still. Nobody
especially
wants to
for like 25 or whatever. Like
it doesn't matter how old you are. Nobody wants to lose that kind of money. Time. Especially but it's not like at a certain point. It's not even about the money. It's really more about like how you feel like you were treated, and how you feel like because I gave that house my all. I mean, like we went above and beyond on the market. I remember I personally showed that house to every showing. Every single person that came to the house, I personally showed it to because that was what they wanted. That's your original question of expectations. That's what they wanted. They wanted me there every time. So that's going out of your way 2-3 times a day to drive over there, turn the lights on, lock the doors up. They had dogs, make sure the dogs were out. Like there was things that had to go into that listing. To do it. So you put your heart into it. Right. You're showing it.
You don't get the respect.
No, I mean, look, you're working toward selling it. Like you're looking to, satisfy them and do something like that. And then
you have to do your job.
For somebody to do that, like that's an intentional, like
it's not
thing that they did to you.
It's not a situation anybody wants to have happen to them. Yeah.
what about now, right? So obviously that changes as far as like, okay, like, you know, you don't allow that to happen to you, but obviously there's still, I guess, not red flags or just little cues that you'll pick up on when you're like, that might resemble something like that, right? Where you're going to know, okay, like we need you to do this, that, and the other thing. Is that a turnoff? Does that, not that it causes trauma or PTSD, but is that more like, all right, like I know this kind of situation, so you know how to assess it and how to like maneuver it?
To me, not red flags, but there's certain things that like you could pick up on that are just, you have to, once again, you have to set reasonable expectations for people. So me now having a team definitely helps me be in a lot more places at one time. Because it is physically impossible. Because think about it, right? Like if every single seller wanted me to be at every single showing on every
you wouldn't be able to.
I wouldn't, how could I?
Yeah.
It'd be impossible, right? So there is a certain, there's transparency up front with people, explaining to them that like there is a reason I have these resources put in place, like person A on my team,
right?
Or admin support.
Well, that's like us. It's like I'm
Same
not
thing.
at every single shoot,
No,
but but we cover a lot of clients because But that's with building a brand, and that's with building the name, and
But to your red flag points, like things now in my career that I notice, it's like sometimes like completely unreasonable marketing plans, right? People be wanting
expectations of them saying like we want this, and then But so you will say no.
I won't dive into it too much, but there is certain things that people say that are really insane. Like they want you to do things that really are
like what?
I mean, sometimes if it's anything on the borderline of unethical, I won't do it. Meaning like there's certain things that people want you to target certain audiences for their house.
Okay.
I won't touch that. I would totally decline. I'll say no. Or if they want you to put their house in a specific marketing channel or avenue that's just extremely costly, but just doesn't make sense for that type of listing.
Right.
Why would we do
so
that?
So if you guys don't align with that sort of thing, then no,
it doesn't make sense. I mean, I feel like the package that we offer is so amazing to begin with. All our marketing, all our branding, everything that we put in. You do the video. You've seen the video. You see how much money and time we spend. We're giving them every single available resource that they would need.
Truthfully told, bro, you're one of the few, and I don't say this because I work with you.
No, I know.
I work with agents of all levels, and I think I've definitely gotten to a point where like right now, different counties, different towns, I've seen a good amount, right? I mean, it's funny. We'll get into that in a little bit, but it's out of all these like big money player leader industry in these towns, you're one of the few people who actually like does everything for their the home.
Yeah.
Like I know other people who, oh, we're just gonna do photos, or oh, we're just gonna do the photo and video, or we're gonna do like you come in and like you're like, no, we're gonna do photo, video, drones, floor plans, website, this thing, that thing, flyer, printing. Like you have a ongoing 100 list.
And we spend a lot of money on it.
You spend a lot of money. Which I'm not saying is like, and it's
important to me. It's important.
It's important to you. It's part of who you guys are. I get that other people get away without doing it, but I mean maybe I'm a little bit more biased because I'm in that industry, and I don't just do real estate, but being in the real estate media marketing industry, I think like it's kind of wild to me that people don't, and it's to what, save $300 or like I don't know. I mean like because again like. You guys are doing numbers. You guys are selling obviously a bunch of homes,
but I think,
and you're doing that on all listings. Like it could be $1 or $100,000 listing, $1 million listing, $100 million listing. You're putting all that marketing into all of these listings, which I think, again, outside looking in, if I wasn't working with you, is very appealing. Versus somebody.
That's why we get hired.
But like to me, I'm like, there's other people who obviously are selling and doing 100 million.
They won't see it that way. To your point, it's like, because if you can get away with something, people will take advantage of that. Meaning, if an agent could get away with only spending, like to your point, $150 on professional photography,
I just look at it like this.
They will do that.
Yeah.
I look at it like this. I'm like, okay, let's say you do 2 listings, $500, $1,000 over the course of the year. You save $12,000. It's $12,000. Don't get me wrong, but $12,000 that if you sold maybe an extra home or 2, you made the money back.
Sometimes extra just one.
Right. But so that's what baffles me though, because it's like, dude, you know how many sit downs I talk to all the time.
We just had this happen in our group chat today. Actually, this is no exaggeration. Before I got here.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you're watching this podcast, I think it's like 11 o'clock at night right now.
Yeah, Friday night, 11 o'clock.
Yeah,
we're out here.
Friday night, 11 o'clock grinding. So you can't see because there's no windows. But In our group chat, I saw an agent list a home today, and there's furniture in the house. And you know when people don't do it anymore, but basically our grandparents, they used to cover. Remember, they used to cover our furniture with like that, that white.
plastic.
I hated that shit.
No, not the plastic. The plastic was one thing. That was the worst. No, remember like the white like curtains.
Yes.
I'm not exaggerating.
Everything, crochet, like all these little things.
This is not a joke. The agent put this house on the market. I just saw it today, and it had all the white coverings on the furniture. Like, were you not there? Did you first of all either remove the furniture or take the thing off? How could you shoot it like that? But what I'm trying to say is some people really just don't care.
They just look past it.
In their mind, the market's the market. The house is going to sell if it's priced right, and nothing else matters. And I totally think that's the wrong approach because there's so many marketing channels that somebody's hiring you to get them the best deal possible on their house.
Yeah.
Right? That's a big deal. Someone's selling or buying a house. If you're
not only that, but it's like, if you're selling and you have a full career or you're whatever, you don't have time to show the home. You first of all, but going back to initial circle, right? Like, let's say I own a home and I want to sell. I'm 40. Okay, I know people, but like, who do I know? My friends, my coworkers? They're gonna buy my home? Yeah. No, like I need somebody to come in and like sell this home for me.
Definitely.
And so it's gonna be whoever it may be, a new family, somebody out of state, somebody out of town, like. And just that's what I'm saying. Like it's
but see, like that's the mindset though. To your point, is like it's in their mind. Maybe it's an old fashioned mindset or a new fashioned mindset.
I think it's an old fashioned mindset.
But I've seen. Sometimes it's not age though. I've seen young realtors do it too. They just don't care because in their mind they're like, you know what? It's gonna go on the market. It's gonna be priced for this. But my mentality is very different. It's truly that. Yes, does pricing matter? Absolutely.
Right. There's things that need to be done correctly.
But if there is any way that we can market and expose that property to net somebody more money or get them more buyers, we're gonna take.
Or just sell it quicker. Wouldn't it be nice to know, like, hey, we're gonna sell that in the next whatever.
100%.
That's amazing because now you're not going through this whole.
Because you can never look at so like how you always have to look at anything in life or your business is like it's not just that one opportunity. How many opportunities am I going to generate from that opportunity? Meaning, if I market this correctly, how many new buyers am I going to meet through that listing? Yeah. If I market this correctly, what other sellers are going to see that listing in the immediate area? Are going to be like, wow, this guy did a great job. Like, great video, great brochure, great floor plans, great website, right? They're going to say, I want to use this person to sell my house, right? Mm-hmm. That's an opportunity. Thirdly, the person that hired you, right? You get them more money. You get them the good contract. You make it happen expeditiously. It worked out perfectly. What do you think they're going to do? They're going to talk about you.
Right.
The agent that listed their house and it sold and it went 10,000 under and they weren't happy and they took the offer or whatever. They're not going to, okay, he sold my house. You did your job. But did you do your job?
Right.
You got the job done, but did you do your job?
Yeah. Was the job done for you or did you do the job?
Full capable.
So that's I think, without going too much on a tangent on it, that's so important to me because it's we say it all the time. Doesn't matter if it's $200,000 or $2 million. We treat it the same.
It's true. No, and those again. If I was somebody who was buying or selling, I mean, obviously, you'd be my realtor, obviously, for obvious reasons.
Hope so.
You are actually. Well, I don't know,
you
bro.
Gotta be careful. Friends and family always seem to find a way to get you.
Of course, it'd be you.
No, bro.
I was take a little photo of my house.
No. Catch you on Instagram. He's like wiggling my keys. Taylor's like, bro, what the?
He'll sell his own house.
I would definitely take that personally.
No, bro. I've been looking at properties. You know this.
Yes, you did call me.
You weren't there, but that's fine.
Backstabbed can't be everywhere every single time. But did I have somebody there?
You had your brother.
Yeah. It was set up for you.
You had your brother. Yeah. I mean, you know what? This is funny, but it's outside of because you could look at the numbers, you could look at the years, you could look at the experience. And for me, it's almost until I talk to the person that I know, okay, like this person's qualified. And not that I'm disqualifying you, but I've never had that one-on-one interaction where it's like, yo, Taylor, like, I want to buy this. Like, what do I need to do? Walk me through this whole process. And, when I showed you, what it is, I'm not going to what's the word? I'm not going to tell the people what it is, but I don't want to disclose the information. But I was genuinely impressed. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was like, oh shit. Like I see why people hire you. Like I get it. Like you really are knowledgeable in what you do. And obviously the results speak for themselves. But no, I mean, Yeah, I mean, I'm using you, obviously. You know,
Yeah.
hopefully that works. We have to talk about that. You know, we haven't talked about that yet.
Talk
But
about it after the podcast.
I wanna know what I have to do next. You know, but yeah, man, that's crazy. I wouldn't be able to do those things, and I think that's originally why I just never dove into that opportunity with you and Klaus, where it was like, you know, I don't know. It doesn't, you know.
Everything happens.
He's like, let's see how Taylor does.
No, it wasn't. It was
go into that burning building first.
it would just
See if you come out okay.
No, it just I don't know, bro. I can't. It
Different
just
routes.
Yeah, it is different routes. You know, it's obviously you're passionate about it. It's working. You know, and you know you love it, and you're off to doing bigger and bigger things with it, which is really cool to see. But it's cool that we work together. You know, and you know if we get to tour and preview and make these online videos for people and for the clients and for whatever. But I think like, what do you see yourself like if it wasn't real estate, right? Like if you weren't doing this, what do you think you would be doing, right? Like, what do you think, like, I don't know, let's just say in a crazy world 5 years from now, like tech takes over and you're like, yeah, real estate agents aren't needed. That's unrealistic, but I'm just saying, right? Like in any scenario, you didn't go down the real estate path or real estate changes as a whole a couple years from now.
Sure.
What?
I mean, I could answer it now. Probably property development, I would say. Yeah, I really do have a love for houses. I have a love for design. You've been in my house. You've seen like my flow. Yeah, I do have a like for that. I don't have the time to dedicate to it because that's obviously anything at a high level takes 100%, 110% focus.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's probably where I would head, honestly. I mean, that would never happen.
Right.
But yes, that's probably what I would do. Now, looking back on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I know you guys want to do 200, million this 2023 here. It's early January. If you guys are tuning in, what's that structure like? You know, I mean, I know you said you guys picked a town. I know, you guys are doing that, but like, how do you hold? Because things don't always work out the way you plan them to be, right? Things go, and life has its course, and things get derailed. Changes happen. And
I watched this video yesterday. It was a reel. It was exactly what you just said. It's like when you have a plan, and it's this guy, and he's like, like those those bull racing shows. They're not racing, the bull like things. They almost like spear you, and you're running around that little like dirt area. Yeah. The guy. His foot's like on the door, like for the thing, and I guess he's doing whatever, and he's sitting there and he's talking to somebody, and the bull comes running out. The door literally swings open and cracks him, and he like flies back. And the thing on the thing was like when you think you have a plan, and then life like hits you,
smacks you in the face.
Yeah, but I mean this year,
like God forbid, let's just say, right? Like
I'm super excited for this year though. Let me tell you why. Because I learned a lot last year in the growth that we had. I learned a lot about people. I learned a lot about systems. I learned a lot about myself, honestly. And I've made a very, very consistent effort to improve upon things to help others. And when I say that, what I mean by that is my focus this year, it's always been this, but it's on a much, much more advanced level.
I think we just lost the light. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Keep going.
That's fine. When I say that, it's really, really getting super deep down with people and helping them accomplish what they want to accomplish. I'm talking about on the most granular level, like business related, right? I mean, personal too. I'd help anybody on my group or friends or family, but it's not so much. And we've always had structure, and we've always had a plan, and we've always said like, people. We used to have. What I'm trying to get at is we used to have quarterly meetings, right? So every quarter I meet with my salespeople individually, and we would basically trace out their year, right? Like, where do you want to go? Are you on target? What are you working on? This is what I suggest. This is what you need to improve on, like typical sales stuff. And I noticed that definitely wasn't enough, right? When I say not enough, I mean, with the business being so active and so much going on, I wanted to advance those open lines of communication. So I'm meeting with them all on a monthly basis, which for me now becomes a weekly basis because there's multiple of them. So I have to do that. But then also other avenues of my team. So I guess what I'm trying to tie this all in together for is we're just making a much, much deeper effort to that big goal that we have, that $200 million goal. To you might be looking outside in and say like, all right, like I see like this is what you want to do, or like life could hit you in the face or whatever. Yes, but over the last 6 years, I've accumulated so much data, and I know the conversion on certain things, and I know what a certain output, what that input's going to look like. So it is very calculated, and that's why I'm very confident that we're going to do it. Yes, is going to require 110% focus. Yes, is going to require a crap load of work on everyone's part to make it happen.
Right. Yes,
is going to involve us all changing and developing new habits and really, really, really hitting the ground hard every single day. You know, I've had this little thing on my team that this year I make this joke, right? It's like I'd call them, like I was doing it to John and Jared. It was like January 3rd, and I'd call them like, today's day 3. They're like, what are you talking about? Like, today's day 3. Like, it's not like today's Wednesday. And I would tell them like, I have this like little motivational thing I'd say to them, like, your goals don't care if it's Saturday. Your goals don't care if it's 11 o'clock at night. It's all your goals care. It's day 3. Like, what are you doing today on day 3? And then day 4, it's like, okay, your goals don't care what you did on day 3. Today's day 4. So like, it's almost that effort. It's like that every single day giving that 110%, which is, yes, is that motivational to a certain degree? Yes, is it a lot of hype to a certain degree?
Yeah.
But more so, it's not that. It's to keep them exactly on line with what they said they want to do.
Right.
Right. And I told them, like, I told everybody on my team, it's like, hey, I'm gonna really, really, really not ride you guys. It's not that. It's really be so involved to really. If you sure you want to do this? Like, meaning like this is the sales,
accountability.
This is the sales goal you want.
Yeah.
This is what it's gonna require. Are you comfortable with me saying this or doing this or forcing you to do this? Or, you know, if someone's like, oh, I want to be active on social media, are you gonna be okay when I tell you it's Wednesday and I haven't seen a video from you this week yet? Like, hey, I need you to go make a video right now. Oh, no, I need you to go make a video right now. But like, that's more what it is. It's more that granular level that I'm referring to. It's like, it's
the little things that are going to add up to the big things.
And yes, could somebody be watching this say, well, hey, that's definitely unsustainable, because how could you be so involved every single day?
Well, that was my next question with that.
But what I'm trying to get at is, I want to do it so I know if we do it, then I know we can do it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, I want to be, because I know, like, in my being, to get to those bigger goals that we talked about.
It requires a lot.
It's not even that. It requires somebody like me, that's me, but not me, doing that me stuff. Does that make sense?
No.
Like, really.
I can relate. I know what you mean.
But I need to create that wheel and that system, right? Then I can't teach somebody else to do what I'm trying to accomplish if I haven't physically done it for a full year straight. Yeah. And then say to somebody like, I know exactly what you need to do now, because like I dealt with it every single day, and that's my mentality this year. It's being totally freaking involved in everything.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, even if you just speak on sales numbers, right? Like, if we just oversimplified it, it's like, okay, like if I can produce this because I do X, Y, and Z to make this, then it's like duplication of like, okay, like, well, somebody who's not Taylor has to also be able to do this by doing X, Y, and Z. And those are the systems and structure that's put in place, and accountability, and the day 3 and the day 7 and month whatever. And it's like Q1 or whatever. My question is, not so much is it sustainable, which I guess it kind of ties into sustainability, but it's something that I've been seeing kind of, I don't know if it's a trend or a mindset, or it's definitely generally how some people feel about things, but it's like we're in this sort of like grind mode, work, right? Like every single day. And like, you know, I think if you love what you do, it's not a problem, because it's like, you'll ask Matt, like, it's like, you know, and our schedules are a little bit different. Like, you wake up and
what you're doing right now is a perfect example of that.
But like, no. I'm also saying like the hourly function of things. It's like, you wake up and like, you know, you're up at 5 a.m. and you're texting me 6 a.m. It's like, dude, I'm not texting you back till like 10 a.m. Like,
I know, but I'm still going to text you.
You know what I mean? But that's only because I go to sleep way later than the average human being, right? Me and Matt are clocking out of the studio, and some of the rest of the guys here, like, what would you say on average is the time?
Lately, bro, I think I sleep at 4 now and wake up like at 11, like sometimes at 10, 11, sometimes even earlier. If it,
you know, I really wanted to start waking up at 4, but it was really hard. Can you call me?
We go to sleep at 4.
We go to sleep at 4.
Call me when you go to sleep.
I'm gonna shoot you a text.
Just call me.
No, call.
I'm gonna DM you.
I would actually appreciate that.
I'm gonna knock on your window. How about that, bro?
He's gonna drive past.
I'm gonna drive by, blasting some Dembo, bro, and wake up your whole block.
Let's do it.
You better hope I don't find out where you live in my town.
Let's do it.
He lives down the street from you.
We can't say that.
Oh yeah, you're right. The feds are watching.
Might be named after the town.
Oakland, right? No. So where I'm going is, you know, it's.
We're here. Yeah, we're here, and I think it's just overall.
And I want to know
time.
I want to know how you feel about this too, and Andy, you too, honestly. But it's kind of like the whole.
What's up, Andy?
I'm not saying it's a shift.
If you watch the podcast, like, who is Andy?
Who is Andy?
Andy's like,
You guys, unfortunately, will not. It doesn't look like you're going to be seeing Andy today.
If you follow Sideways Triangle, you know who Andy is. All right, Andy is the boy. He's producing right now. He's switchboarding it up. It's these cuts that you're seeing.
Andy was also in VEMMA.
It is.
It's true.
Andy was in VEMMA.
See how this all tied together?
It all ties
Who would've
together.
thought 10 years later?
I got a verve in the back, bro.
No.
No, you don't.
It's way too late for that. Let's.
No. So hold on. I have a question.
Work.
No. You don't need. So yeah, the question is, not saying there's a shift, but there's definitely. I don't know if it's the next generation or just the way people are viewing things. There are people who believe the whole like hustle culture is toxic and is like not productive.
That's a real thing.
And so, but there are more people. And I'm not saying it has to be toxic, but I'm just saying like there are people that believe more in like, I guess, balance of like, okay, like, you know what, like I worked my hours, this whatever. Now I'm just gonna like clock off and like reserve specific time. One thing is reserving an hour and being like, I'm gonna go watch a movie or just go take a nap or go to dinner, right? Like I get it, but like I feel like people like you and me in a way, like we really don't do that. Like, dude, we go to dinner when, you know, we're together and like you're on your phone and it's just like, we're not really off the clock. You know what I mean? And like, same thing with us. It's like but so my point is there are people who just don't believe in the hustle culture.
So,
and what do you think to that?
I think there's a couple parts to this. There's a lot of parts to this.
People here, and
well, I just want to. I do want to.
They think they can get to these goals without like working it 24/7, and I just don't know if that's possible.
So there's something really important that I think all of us in the room need to acknowledge. Everybody has different goals. That's number one.
Right.
I made the.
But if we're talking about the same goals, though, I'm saying like, yo, we're gonna sell.
But it's off to what you're saying though, and I'm gonna get to it. I promise.
Okay.
But the first thing you need to always establish, the baseline you need to establish, is that your mindset is your mindset, right? It's you want to think and you want to believe that people should think the way you do, because you always naturally think you're right, no matter what. Everybody thinks they're right. So you have to first establish and understand that there's so many variables and so many things that so many people experience on why they think the way they do. And it's not really wrong. It's just the way they think. And that's really what they want, right? So like you might be like, dude, I'm trying to make $100 million a year. And then you meet somebody else, you're like, dude, I'm cool with 70,000. Like that's awesome if I make that. And you may be like, why? Why would you want that for your life? You only live once. YOLO. And they're like, listen, I just don't care.
Right.
You could sit there and you could literally talk to them to their blue in the
And
face.
they still
That's
won't.
not going to change.
Yeah.
That's number one, right? So who's the audience that we're talking about?
If you're comparing two different,
But
like,
if we're comparing person to person, like
Right.
two people that
no, I agree with you. That's
well, first
fine.
of all, they don't want. So what your point? They don't want the same thing.
I'm talking about people who want the same thing, though.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
But they actually don't want the same thing.
Oh, so you're saying they think they want it.
They don't really want that.
They don't
It's
really.
like, no.
So then, okay.
So what I'm trying to get at is this: yes, do I see a growing trend in people that are like more like lax in the workplace, more like want like more structure, that turn off mentality, work hustle is very toxic, like you need more balance. Yes. Number one, that creates a lot of opportunity for someone that really wants to go get it, right? For somebody that really wants to like go at the highest level, whatever they're doing. It is, I don't care. I will debate anybody on any podcast, on any YouTube video, anybody in person. You cannot, physically cannot convince me.
He will argue with you physically.
You cannot convince me otherwise. It is impossible to achieve the highest level of success in no matter what you're doing without 110% into it. I mean, this is.
I'm with you on that. I'm on that side.
This is not an opinion. This is not my opinion. This is proven time and time again.
Look at Kobe. Look at
any industry.
You have to be obsessed.
At sports, music. It doesn't matter what you're doing. You need to be like
obsessive.
Now, can you be 50% focused and still do really well? Yeah.
Maybe, but with luck. Like that's like one in like.
Is that sustainable? No. I think it's a lot more sustainable to be 100% focused on what you want and
right. Because you're in control.
Yeah, because you're in control, right? So I think that's number one. But I think to your point, which I do see it, me now, sounds crazy, right? I feel like I'm getting old.
You are
but now,
old, bro.
but now being I'm 31 years old.
You are
now.
an old man.
I am old, man.
Dude.
I'm getting up there. But I
Matt, when do you turn 30?
Yeah, well, don't mention that.
when
couple months.
We're the same age, yeah, same
man.
block, same town.
Jesus, man.
Same
It's for
skin.
another episode. It's not a coincidence.
Dude, we're like the same, man.
Not a coincidence in my life. Bro.
Yo, are you guys twins?
Are we twins?
Are you another Lucyk?
So what I was trying to
WPS, bro.
I guess what we're wrapping up with that point is that in short, it's off that first point that we talked about, right? Knowing what really you want or knowing what that person cares about or wants. But you just
I respect the opinion. Like if somebody says to me like, "Hey, here's my disagreement with it, but here's my agreement with it." Like I'm a respectable person to you, and I'm very understanding and very open-minded. So it's like you tell me like, you know what, like I like it because it's not about the money and it's not about like the success. It's not about whatever. It's just if you just go off of I want to achieve X, right? Whatever that may be, and then you tell me how you're gonna get there. It's not so much that I don't believe in you. It's just maybe I just think you're not doing enough. And it's not about overdoing it. It's just like I know if we're talking in terms of sales and we're saying like, all right, like, you know, you want to sell, I don't know, $1 million worth of whatever product. It's just to me, it's like, you know, I'm gonna come up with my game plan. You're gonna come up with your game plan. And if I compare my game plan to yours and I see that yours is just a little bit more relaxed or just a little bit more, you know, just, I don't know, like, again, going back to the Kobe Black Mamba mentality where it's like, okay, like if Kobe is practicing this many hours, it's going to compound and he's going to get better and he's going to get like, he's just going to get that much better over time versus the other person who's not training as hard or is not putting in the same amount of hours. So that's why I'm like, okay, like we're not both going to be the best players if I'm putting in more hours than you. Like that's just not possible.
I have this thing that I tell my team actually. It's not even mentality though. It's
and so you're fine if that's how you want to approach your goals in your life and your financial, spiritual, your you know whatever. I have no disagreement with that. You do what makes you happy and what's going to get you there, or what you think is going to get you there. I just don't think like we're going to be on the same playing field or the same level because you're just outworking the next person to you.
Consistency wins every single time. It doesn't matter what you're doing. Whether it's whether you're investing in monetary and money, and look at any growth chart or any stock market chart. Consistency every single time wins. Every single time.
I'm full hustle work mode, and I know that sounds bad, but like
the biggest thing though with that is like I think people kind of mix it up a little bit. Like I always say, like I've met some really, really great salespeople, some really, really fantastic salespeople that could win a room. I mean, like they could sell anything to you. They could win over anybody. They can convince anybody of anything, right?
Oh, thanks, dude.
Very charismatic.
Thank you, bro.
Whatever it may be, but they lack in some other really important skill sets, right? The organization, the follow up, and I always say I take the more organized, consistent person any day over the person that's like the ultra salesperson, because over time, you will see that other person completely burn out, be disorganized, lose clients, lose trust, lose everything. Where the person that maybe wasn't as good doesn't win every single opportunity, doesn't win every single thing.
But it's consistent.
But they win more because they just keep going and going and going and going.
I like that. I like that a lot.
And I say that all the time because I've seen it. I've seen it in my own business. I've seen it with other people. It's a proven thing. And you don't have to. It's not like insane. It's just consistent chops.
That's true. Yeah. That's very true.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you, completely unrelated to anything.
I was gonna say, are we gonna have like fun?
Yeah, I had some completely unrelated questions.
I'm having a lot of fun.
I was talking to Matt. I saw this on social media the other day, and Matt knows where we're going with this.
Let's do it.
I want to hear your thought process of this. So, and Andy, I want to know. Actually, I think I did ask Andy the other day. So, you're trapped in the mall.
Oh my god.
Okay.
This is how I know if we're really twins.
Yeah, I want to know if you guys are on the same frequency here. Don't say nothing.
I'm not.
Trapped in the mall. We're going DJI store.
You guys are trapped. I'm glad you know about DJI. So also Taylor's not the best with technology. he's you know, but look.
But everyone around me is.
Yeah, that's all that matters really. So if you are trapped in the mall, and actually I want to know what the people think too. If you're trapped in the mall, would you rather be trapped with 1 silverback gorilla or 5 black mamba snakes?
If I was trapped in a mall, would I rather be trapped with one silverback gorilla?
Correct. And I did some time researching both animals, so I know a little fun facts about them, in case you're not familiar with them.
Yeah.
But
So
which one would you rather be trapped in the mall?
And they're both trying to hunt you down.
okay, that was my next
Yeah,
question.
yeah.
What's our purpose?
They're both trying to hunt you down.
You're in the mall. It could be whatever mall you want, but you're just in this mall.
So in all fairness, I really know nothing about either one of those
Either one?
animals.
Okay.
But I mean, I know what they are.
Right.
5 black mamba snakes.
Let me educate you a little bit on both, just because I didn't know too much either. The black mamba snake is one of the longest snakes, one of the fastest snakes. It outruns humans. It can stand on 3/4 of its body, so that guy will like just look you eye to eye. And this skinny little thing, its venom is so poisonous that at one point in time in the world, it was 100% fatal. Secondly, now there's an antidote, but that doesn't really help because if you can't get to help in time, you still die. And you have about a 20-minute time window until the snake bite kills you. Now, on the other hand, a silverback gorilla, he's a big motherfucker. He obviously is super
Probably like
strong.
600 pounds.
Probably like 600 pounds, 5 times the size as you, can also outrun you. And
6 times stronger than, I think, 6 times human strength, like a man's strength.
yeah.
So I'm gonna
So
go-
the question is, you're trapped in the mall.
Who's want my competition to be?
Who's your competition to
Who
be?
would you rather have chase you?
I'm gonna be honest.
And
The
th-
reason,
th-
and this might be completely and utterly wrong. I'm just going off my gut. I'm gonna go with the snakes,
Oh!
and I'm gonna tell you why.
I'm out, bro.
I think there has something to do with the
out,
fact,
bro.
I
I
think
told you.
I think there's something that has
told
to
you, I
do
told you.
with the fact that there's 5 of them, and I feel like they're all gonna kill themselves. I don't know why,
I didn't think about that, but
but
just go to sleep.
They're
knowing
gonna
you were
fight
wrong.
over who's gonna eat you.
Go to sleep.
Yes.
You're wrong. Knowing you were wrong, Allan.
No.
I don't know why. Just to me, and that was a little bit of a joke, but to me, there's something about the fact that it's way too easy to think that just the one is the better option. But why the 5?
It's. I mean, I don't know that there's like a official ruling as to which one's
Oh, so
better.
there's no real answer to this.
Not that I know of. I mean, maybe, but
Only logical answers here, and clearly he chose the right one.
I mean, dude, but like, okay, think about this. If you're in the mall, you're trapped, and you're gonna choose to die. It's like, I mean, if I'm gonna die,
you
at
might
least-
not die.
At least
You might not die.
You might not die. But hey, it's a better story to say I escaped 5 black mamba.
Versus a gorilla.
It's a gorilla that punched me to the face and knocked me down.
My thought process is
Gorilla's
this.
probably big and lazy. It's fine.
They're
I
both
don't-
gonna kill you.
I don't
one
know.
way.
You chose the snakes.
I chose the snakes.
You chose the snakes.
I say you have a better chance of surviving 5 snakes compared to one gorilla, knowing that they both essentially want to end your life.
I just don't. I'm not that.
What did you pick?
I picked the gorilla. And the reason why is
I hate snakes, by the way.
I don't like snakes. It's
Absolutely
not like
fine.
I'm picking snakes because I
No,
like
but I
them.
don't hate gorillas. I actually hate
Oh.
snakes.
here's the thing about the snake. All it takes is one bite and you're dying. Like
Damn.
you're like
But
you have no antidote.
I
Like,
think there's something about these snakes all being in a pack going after you. I don't know why.
you could
I'm
have
gonna- I'm gonna
you could
look
have the
this up.
snakes circle around you. Who said they're leading on from the same direction? Now you're circled. You have no escape.
flipping out.
You got one gorilla. You could out. I'm not saying you're gonna outrun them,
All
but
right. I get it. Next topic.
no, I'm you know what I'm saying? Realistically, let's say a gorilla grabbed you and tossed you across whatever. There's a chance you're surviving that. You might walk out with some broken legs, broken ribs or something, but like you could play dead or something. That snake will 100% come, try and suck you up, swallow you, bite you. You are dying. Like there's no surviving that.
I see what you're getting at. I hope for neither.
Survival rate, I'm just saying, I'm picking gorilla. You could also potentially injure that gorilla.
You know what? Aren't you guys like trying to like make some like really cool videos?
I might just
I think
try
you
to
guys
test
should-
this
why don't you
theory
guys
out
try
for
it out?
him.
Why don't I find you guys a really angry gorilla?
If you could fund this, I think this might
why don't
work.
you guys try it out if you're so confident?
It's gonna cost about $9,000 to get a silverback gorilla. If you're cool with putting up that money, I will make a video on silverback
If you
gorilla.
lock yourself in a mall with a silverback gorilla, I will gladly buy you a silverback gorilla. If I get to watch that video,
We could live broadcast this and just put cameras all around, make a Mr. Beast type video. Oh god.
Bro.
I think you said you had something for us, right? Didn't you say you wanted to bring something up?
so I wasn't home, but I was actually gonna bring a mic.
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
I was gonna walk in with a mic. Yeah,
Yeah.
With your own mic.
my own mic.
That was
And honestly, I haven't set it up yet, so I don't even know how to use it. So I would ask you to set it up for me.
that was the grand thing you were talking about.
Yeah, it was kind of like I was just like, how would they feel if I just brought my own mic? You know, like
that would be pretty funny.
you know, like I thought to myself, like they obviously have all this like high end equipment. Like how disrespectful would it be to me? Like this is my mic. Like I'm using this mic. It could kind of be showing up to like basketball practice with your basketball. You know.
You would.
As long as it
you
worked.
would be that person.
As long as it worked.
You know Ryan's gonna watch this and he's gonna be like, "Oh yeah, that's totally a Taylor."
Surprised you didn't bring the mic. Oh man,
That's funny. No, I had like some final questions. So we've been working together for a couple of years now. What is like one of your favorite videos?
How many minutes are we at on this podcast, by the way? Where's Andy?
Andy, what are we at?
6 hours? Hour and 50.
Andy a foot at the door right now.
Wow. We hit 2 hours.
It goes quick. You wouldn't think
Whoa.
it. Last final thing, and we'll wrap this whole thing up. Is
We
out of
we have to hit 2 hours now. Andy, bro. How can we end at an hour and 55, Andy? Dude, Andy.
If only there was a camera showing his face every time I looked at him.
wait, is this mic on?
I need you focused, Andy.
No, that one's not on.
Yo, wait, Andy, turn this microphone on and hop in real quick.
Andy, hop
Just
in for
set
the
it to the wide
last
camera.
10
The
minutes,
third
Andy.
one, yeah. Set it to the wide
Set
camera.
it to we could always add the other cameras if we need to. Get in on this, bro.
At this point.
Wait, I have questions for Andy though.
Disclaimer here, yo.
What's up, buddy?
Disclaimer. This
boy's
is
late.
everybody say hi to Andy. Welcome, Andy.
Disclaimer, I had to be at work. I
to
should have
be
been
at-
at work like 2 hours ago.
Wow. So what I was gonna ask you is, when your boss sees this,
Dedication.
when the company sees this, what will they say?
They said I'm a dedicated motherfucker to this film shit. and I probably deserve to be here than there.
He said, "You know what, Andy? Daydreams over day jobs."
I agree.
That's right.
Show them this video. Tell them.
I agree entirely with that one.
My man was on the boards,
fun
bro.
questions. What should we do?
No, last question I was gonna ask you is out of all the videos that we've ever made, what do you think is your favorite video?
That's a tough one, actually.
Think about it. You can.
I know it wasn't like it got great views, and I just had a lot of fun with it because we were in a lot of different scenes. That Edgewater versus the suburbs.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that waterfront versus the suburbs. I just had fun with that one
Yeah.
for some reason.
Honestly, a lot of the production should feel like that.
Yeah.
A lot of them should be like that. And you know why? Because we actually took the time out on that one to like script it a little bit more and like pick the locations a little bit more.
Definitely.
We have a workflow that we do, but I'm telling you, if we do them like that more and more and more, like it's not even about the views. Like it's just the experience as a whole is just gonna like eventually because it's gonna show, and it's gonna like when you view something again, going back to the genuine thing, you're gonna be like, oh, like wow, like they really put an effort into this thing. They really wanted this thing to do and be whatever, and eventually it will get there, even if it's not today, tomorrow, or even a year from now.
Yep.
So Andy, how do you know Taylor?
Marketing, him being a very positive person in a lot of people's lives that he kind of had the opportunity to basically bless everybody with at that time. I feel like he gave a lot of people inspiration. He gave a lot of people hope at that time, which is great hope.
Dude,
right?
Taylor's the person that sold me into VEMMA. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Taylor's one of the people that actually
Taylor
made me
was-
believe in myself,
Dude,
honestly.
for real. Yeah, I walked into his basement. Shout out to Colin, who actually got me there, and I
Allan.
was sold on this because I mean, again, I was like fresh out of high school, right into college, or that leap year of like that summer going in, and I just didn't know what I was gonna do with my life. And then when I met a couple of kids who were making a little bit of money, driving some fancy cars, and I was just like, this sounds great. And so the belief was, I mean, truthfully, bro, like I look at you, you're my friend, but at one point you were my mentor, and at one point, like, I look at you for information. You're like a big brother, you're a little bit older than me, so you've been through a little bit longer of life, there's things that you've gone through that I haven't gone through just yet. So it's always nice learning from you. And again, success leaves clues. So, I think Andy relates on that with when we all met you. But yeah, you sold me on VEMMA, bro.
We probably wouldn't be in this room today if it wasn't for you.
We probably wouldn't, bro. Seriously.
Who knows what we'd be doing? Really weird to think about.
Yeah.
Really weird.
It's it comes all full circle though, one way or another, right?
It does.
It's kind of crazy.
Yo, shouts to Sonny though.
Sunny.
Sunny.
Sunny changes our locks now. How crazy is
Yeah.
that? Who would have thought? Right?
Should I get Sunny on an episode and talk about locksmith? Do you guys want to see a locksmith? a crazy locksmith, but for a good
craziest
a
locksmith.
good crazy
You
locksmith.
better be here
though.
for a 4-hour podcast.
Oh my God.
This thing.
I'll make sure I don't have work that night.
Bring him popcorn.
Oh my goodness.
Oh god. So you have to get to work, Andy. Anything you want to say? Andy is Andy, man. I'm excited to do what we have stored this year for you.
Yeah, I have a lot of plans to just solely focus on this. And Allan and I talk about this a lot. So
Love it.
that's one of my main goals. We're gonna make this dream a reality.
Yes,
Love it,
sir.
For sure.
go.
I'm excited for
Soon,
you guys.
bro.
You guys have the great,
Very
the
soon.
great setups. I see you guys have some great collabs in the work, and I have no doubt this thing's gonna take off. So
Working,
Yeah.
man.
thank you for having me. I
We'll,
lo-
we'll have you back when you sold 200 million. You're not allowed on this podcast until you sell 200 million. All right.
It looks like I'll be back on the podcast.
Come back next week.
It's fine.
It's like, hey, I did it
The
early.
TV's quitting off on us. The production's starting to fail. It's midnight. I'm hungry. Guys, thank you for
We're getting
tuning
some
into
wings.
another episode. Yeah, we should get some wings.
We out.
Thank you guys for tuning into another episode. If you made it to the end, Taylor, is there any sort of discount promo code anywhere they can find you?
Discount promo code.
Yeah, maybe he's gonna sell your home for 2%, not 3%.
First of all, it's 5%.
Okay,
I
so-
said one side of the deal is 2 to 3%.
Oh, he likes to double deals. Can you get to 10%?
You could. There's no such thing as a fixed rate. Yeah, you could charge.
Really?
Yeah, you could charge as little as much as you want. Yeah.
Why don't you go for 10?
It's not that about going for 10. It's in our market. I mean, in certain markets, people are
Set
up
the
to
trend.
7-8%.
Set the trend.
Yeah. Well,
I believe
I
in
also
you.
want to get hired.
I believe in you. Why do more sales when you could do lesser
Guys,
sales
thank you
for?
for tuning into another episode.
Where can they find you?
Is it
Seriously?
volume?
Where can they find you, bro?
TaylorLucykGroup.com. You can follow us on any of our social media channels. Taylor Lucyk Group on Instagram. Taylor Lucyk on Instagram, Facebook. Just search the name. We come up in a lot of places. I'm sure there's some channels.
We didn't even get to talk about HGTV, bro. We'll talk about that next time.
Next one.
On the next
time, yeah.
episode, I don't know who is the next episode. We actually have a bunch of episodes that we're filming. But yeah, guys, thank you for tuning in. This has been another episode of Volume. Andy, Matt, Taylor, thank you for sticking out till Friday midnight. And
Wow.
peace.
Put 'em out.